So what did you say again? Can you say it again?
Oh, I don't remember. It was nothing.
You don't remember? Oh, it seemed like it was something a little along the lines of, I'm sorry for everything I ever said about lemon, but...
I am sorry for everything. Listen, because I know I'm really thrusting up this upon people. If you're not on Patreon, what...
Xiinön...
First of all, what a waste. And second of all, what a confusion you must be in.
What a very big confusion you must be in. Can we turn her so she's facing...
Yes.
She doesn't do well when she's not in the limelight.
Xiinön. She's also on my phone at all times.
I'm still dressed as a lemon, and Xiinön's still in the room.
I love Xiinön so much. You have to go watch the Space Camp video, and it's probably not going to mean anything to you. I don't care. We're going
to maybe clip the part where I made a really aggressive animation of her in the middle of our video. Maybe we'll put that on Instagram or something.
I know, like, it probably makes no sense, but also, like, at one point, none of us understood what lemon was, and we all came to terms, and we all gathered around and loved lemon.
Well, not
me.
all. Yeah, no.
But now I'm requesting everyone do that for me. Okay. I love her so much. So anyway, we were in the middle of me
singing her praises
all over her. Yeah.
Okay. Hello. Welcome.
Hi, welcome to, and that's why we drink.
I don't know why I'm still wearing these horrible yellow glasses. There was something I was going to say. Oh, so I know that. Ow, my eyes. Okay, I know that we're. Halloween is like yesterday when this comes out. But we have some spooky things to tell, I think.
Yes.
A couple.
We should do.
Ghosty things that I don't want to forget. So one of them, which one first?
I don't know.
Do you know which I'm talking about?
I know about...
There's one from here.
From here?
From this very building.
What are you talking about?
Oh my God. Okay, we literally talked about it like an hour ago.
Yes, I know what you're talking about now. Okay. Sorry, I was behind the times.
And, which AKA just means we're cursed. Anyway, and then there's something that happened the other day that my mom texted me about, which was like jarring. Yes. So which one? Okay, so anyway, I'll just tell you about my mom's text. So yesterday, I was just hanging out and I got this text from my mom that said, want to know something creepy or want to hear something creepy? And I was like, no, not really. But she told me anyway. She said, I was sitting... fermenting kraut. Don't worry about that part.
It was the most Renata thing
like I didn't even notice it, and then I showed Eva and was like,
you had me at fermenting kraut.
Yeah. She was like, I was sitting at my table fermenting kraut on a Saturday night when I just said out loud to Tim, my stepdad, what was the line? It was like,
I think Uncle Walt is dead.
Yeah. So she doesn't mince her words. She's German. She doesn't say, I don't think he's doing
She minces her kraut though.
She does.
She ferments it too.
Very haphazardly though. Yeah. No, so she goes, I think Uncle Walt is dead. And then she called my step-grandma the next day, her mother-in-law, and was like, can you check on Walt? And so my grandma did. And it turns out he had passed on Saturday night.
Woo.
And I was like, I completely forgot I literally had an Uncle Walt because he's like a step uncle. Or,
he's like very removed.
Yeah, he's like my stepdad's uncle. And so I just saw like Walt died and I was like, this is like a lot. And like kraut fermented, I was like, this is a lot for me to take in right now. But it was weird, just like another Walt reference. Remember how we always have Waltz on this show?
No, I know. The second when I first saw your text about that situation,
yeah,
I first saw the word Waltz and I went, this is a fucking ghost story.
Yeah,
so
it's weird. And I was like, I didn't even remember. Like, I'm not close with him, but I was like, I didn't even remember.
My grandpa's name is Walt, and he's alive and kicking. But one day, I'm wondering if he's going to be like the most prominent ghost in my life.
And then I have an Uncle Wally who's like also Walt.
So I can love Uncle Wally.
I know, bow tie central over here. So anyway, I have an Uncle Walt who apparently passed away. I mean, he's older, but still. And so there's another Walt in the story, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, that I didn't even remember existed. A different Uncle Walt than my Uncle Wally and Grandpa Walter. Your grandpa.
Well, I just said that I love your Uncle Wally, but we all know who my favorite member of your family is.
Do we?
Yeah, who I actually thought was a ghost when I first met her.
Grandma Pam.
Oh, Miss Pam.
Isn't that
I
correct?
love Miss Pam.
Miss Pam is kind of M thinks a ghost.
I'm pretty sure Aunt Pam isn't really here. And Aunt Pam apparently heard that story.
Grandma Pam.
Grandma Pam?
Yeah.
Oh, Aunt Pam? I've been calling her Aunt Pam or Miss Pam in my head this whole time.
Grandma Pam.
Uh-huh. Well,
she spells it Gramma.
That's so sweet. And she could do nothing
She
wrong.
sent me a card and my mom was like, this is not how you spell grandma. And she was like, this is how I spell it.
Walter, my grandpa, He spells it Grampa instead of grandpa. He goes grandpa. Yeah. More phonetically correct, I suppose.
It is.
But I know I've told that story before, but every time I think of your distant family, I think of Miss Pam and how she's like...
And there's a lot of distant family to think of, so I'm amazed that that's
I just saw a little silhouette approaching me in the middle of the night, and I went, I am going to die.
With a quilt, most likely. I do have multiple quilts from Grandma Pam. She's a great quilter.
She has such warm hands.
She's a lovely
She's one of those people who does the double hand when you
does.
shake her hands, and I went, oh my God.
And she also makes you always feel like you're the funniest person that ever lived.
I was smitten with her. Yeah. I'll never forget her. She's such a lovely woman.
She's a gem.
Anyway.
So
Uncle
Walt has passed.
Is dead.
R.I.P. And also, yikes, that's
also
frightening.
Apologies
also,
too.
I guess my mom knows before it happened or whatever.
My condolences to your family also.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And so apparently, we're just going to, I guess, tell what happened here. Yeah. Is we got on a Zoom call the other day, and the lovely people at Cast Studios who were helping, produce and record us on Zoom since we're incompetent, were like, hey, something happened. And I went, I don't want to know because it doesn't sound like it's good. And they were like, well, we were going to put a cute logo of yours on the wall where we put all the podcasts, and they have we've seen it a million times. And I was like,
it's the first wall you walk past when you come into the studio.
It's lovely. They have all the logos up in black frames. Looks great. And they were like, we put yours up, and then pretty quickly it immediately fell on the ground and shattered everywhere. And I was like, oh no, that's a bummer. And they were like, but then
we kept doing it and it kept falling off.
We bought new adhesive because we thought, well, maybe it was the adhesive. We bought new adhesive, put it up. Same thing, just shattered all over the ground.
But and every other logo, the frames have always stayed up. It's and there was something that was there before our show, so it's not like that part of the wall won't hold anything.
It's very weird because
we're us trying to put ours up. It just keeps coming.
And there are
down.
new ones on there where I'm like, well, they probably came up around the same time, and they're staying.
We came in and our logo is not just in a frame and still on the counter,
aggressively missing. And there's multiple copies because they're probably well, who knows how many are going to be destroyed.
We don't even want to try hanging this.
So I said, why don't you leave some gin out, because you never know if Walt's just annoyed, or I don't know, whoever, any of the Walt's really. So maybe leave some booze out. Will that help? I don't know, but apparently we're cursed, which what a shock. Not. So I don't know how to cleanse anything, which is exactly why I'm not going to do it, because I'll probably do the opposite.
We should just start making it more and more difficult, nail it into the wall and see if that goes flying.
Aha. Well, Em was actually setting up the apartment and was like, BTW, I think something is here. And I was like, well, that's
I know something is here.
Super not fun. And Emma was like, yeah. So I was hanging stuff up, our Demon House signed poster. And
that's what I was trying to hang up.
Oh, great. I knew it. I knew it too, because I was like, that was the wall you were pointing at.
I didn't even put that together.
And what happened?
If you didn't listen to the last episode,
then go listen, because it's
a doozy. It was our Halloween special. But so this whole last month before Christine got here, I have been surprising her, unbeknownst to her.
No,
and
fully
I was
unbeknownst.
Setting up our entire apartment and making it livable and make it look like a home versus a lodging situation.
A place where the person coming to maintenance people don't come in and go, I think we need to call the authorities.
We did have a maintenance person come in the other day who said it was the nicest.
He said it was the cleanest apartment he's ever been in, and he's like, how do you do it? And I was like, well, I don't live here.
I Swiffered the floor 9 times.
25 days of the month. That helps.
We've had everything just kind of leaning against walls, and nothing had been hung up. We were basically, it looked like a squatting situation.
It's very in transition mode.
It was really to be completely direct and upfront, it was, we moved in the week before quarantine and then didn't go back to decorate anything. So everything just remained on the ground from when we brought it in boxes. So everything stayed in boxes.
Yeah.
And so I was actually hanging things on walls and all that. And I nailed, I guess, the Demon House poster, which I also just mentioned in the last episode.
Yep.
I was nailing that into the wall, and I worked really hard on it. Just to give myself a little pat on the, I worked really, really hard on making the apartment look nice to surprise Christine with. And so
don't worry about it.
I was up until 4 a.m. sometimes at this apartment, and I was just too tired to go home. So I would just crash there. and we didn't have a bed made yet or anything, and the air mattress was deflated. So I literally slept on our tiny little couch in this empty room. It's like a love
seat, by the way. It's like a love seat.
I like fetal positioned, and I didn't have a blanket or anything. I just like used like my sweatshirt to like cuddle
up. We used like old T-shirts of ours, like, and that's why we drink T-shirts.
And so I was falling asleep after I had nailed stuff in one day. I had put the nails in the walls, but I hadn't hung anything up yet. And in the middle of the night, I was trying to fall asleep, and all of a sudden I saw something like kind of shiny, like it looked like a little piece of metal or something, had like flit across my eyes. Like I just kind of saw something in passing.
Oh, you saw it like in movement.
I saw it in movement.
I didn't know that. Okay.
It looked like a staple had been thrown or something. I was like, oh, it's really tiny and metal and shiny. And I saw something move. And then I heard clink, 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 clink on the hardwood floor. Good. And I was like, what the hell was that? And I knew that I had just put nails in the walls. And all of a sudden I felt something standing behind me.
Oh, great. Here we go.
And I just kept my eyes wide open, and I went,
I can't believe you opened your eyes. I would immediately close mine.
I sense you. I acknowledge you, but I am trying to sleep. Please leave me alone. And it stayed with me for like a half an hour. But the next morning I got up and I looked at the walls, and one of the holes didn't have a nail anymore, which means it got taken out of the wall and flew.
If it flew across your vision, then it was like, it didn't fall and like bounce. It flew across the room.
It flew across, like, if I was sleeping, like, I mean, if you're watching the camera, you can see me. The nail was all the way over here. I couldn't see it, and it went all the way across the room in front of me.
And then clinked.
So Yikes. It didn't like fall because of gravity, and I didn't nail it in properly.
So I was like, great. So they don't want you hanging stuff up. Now there's 4,000 things hanging up. And
something is throwing nails at us.
I'm alone now. Great. Super duper duper. So anyway.
And it happened to be the Demon House poster that has been in Zach's Haunted Mansion.
Super duper duper duper. So anyway, point being, apparently we're cursed, and that's fun for us.
Also, more information.
Everyone's probably like, yeah, we know. We thought we all knew that.
We just mentioned this in the last episode too, but as of fingers crossed yesterday,
yes.
If everything goes well, it's yesterday. We now have new merch for you.
Yes.
We have 5 brand new designs, all from Work Kirk.
They are like, they're amazing. So talented.
I probably by now own every single one.
We're gonna like go on the website and buy all of them, like big weirdos. Yeah.
Also, we got new accessories for you guys. We got wine glasses. We got coasters.
Those wine glasses have been in high demand for a long time. So
also we are
coasters. Yeah.
Yeah. Of the same designs as the shirts, I think, so too. Fun. So there's a variety pack happening.
I'm so excited.
Is there anything else we have to say?
I think that's it.
I have one more thing.
Okay.
Wow, so much news for you guys.
Love when M says, do we have anything to say? Let me say this.
No, I wanted to remind everyone, if you are not part of our newsletter, please join.
Yes.
We, for those of you who have joined, as of yesterday, you have the October newsletter, and I just talked to Eva, so I do know this one for sure. In that newsletter, we have announced all of our winners for our Halloween pet costume contest.
Apparently, we're getting a lot of entries.
Eva said in the last 2 days, we got like 60 of them. So
in just 2 days. And that's not counting all the other weeks that this has been active. So
we have such a backlog. Maybe we just do like a pet every month at this point.
I mean, maybe we just keep putting pets in costumes.
Maybe our newsletter is just a big chart every month of animals.
I love that. Jess, who makes the newsletter, is like, please, that's not what I actually want to do. But
no. But if you wanted to see the October one and get a look at some of our favorites, then if you've already joined the newsletter, you've seen that. If you are part of the newsletter and you haven't seen it, it might be in your spam folder. So check that out. It's usually
in promotions, just to be clear. It's hard to find because sometimes it gets in all the like retail emails, but it should be in your promotions folder if you're on Gmail. If you want to sign up, you can go to andthat'swhywedrink.com, and it's, I think at the bottom there's like a little form to fill out.
Yes.
To sign up.
It like pops up right away. That's how I signed up.
Yeah, it does pop up, but if you're like on mobile, it's at, I don't think I don't know if it pops up, but there is also a form at the bottom of the homepage if you don't get a chance to.
Sorry, I was thinking desktop.
But yeah, so it's really fun. It's really good. Like, I'm just so honored that Jess is making this for us. And like, she reached out to us and was like, hey, do you want to do this project? And we were like, hell yeah.
That's a winner right there.
That's it. We're in. So anyway, it's very good. And we're just really proud of it. Even though we don't do it, we just watch it happen.
Yes.
It's great. It's great stuff.
Anyway, hope everyone had a great spooky season. And also today is a double whammy because you get your listeners episode also.
That's right.
Because it's the first of every month. If you would like to have your story in the running for future episodes, you can also do that on our website. We have submission forms for that, as well as story suggestion boxes. So if you have a story you want us to cover, you can also go to our website and put that in there.
Yes.
Just while we're there and saying everything. There you go.
Just do it all.
Okay.
Christine, last week was Allison's birthday, and one of the things that we did was we did a Skillshare class together where we learned how to swing dance.
Oh my.
She did 10 out of 10. I did about 3 out of 10, but we took the class and it was pretty fun. I was bad at it, but it was pretty fun.
I swear to God, every time I talk to you, we're like, have you taken this class? And I'm like, how do they have every possible class? Because, okay, well, let's tell you guys what Skillshare is first. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people. So you can explore new skills like swing dancing. Yep. You can deepen existing passions like swing dancing. And you can get lost in creativity, which is what I did when I took the course Plants at Home.
Oh my gosh.
Uplift Your Spirit and Your Space, which is taught by Christopher Griffin, who is also known as Plant Queen. And it is so great. So basically their class is to help you kind of elevate your space and make it welcoming and happy and learn like what your plants really need from you. And I feel like in quarantine, it's a very like self-care based class.
I was going to say, it's a very like that sounds like a quarantine class specifically.
I feel like it's probably rocketing to like the top of the charts because I'm obsessed with it. I highly recommend it. And I think hopefully this time my plants actually survive the month. So we'll find out.
Skillshare is a great way to refresh your creativity and explore beyond your areas of focus. You can break up your routine with spontaneous acts of creativity, explore workshops, classes, and more.
Members get unlimited access to thousands of inspiring classes with hands-on projects and feedback from a community of millions. And most classes are under 60 minutes with short lessons to fit any schedule. And there are no ads. They're always launching new premium classes, clearly, as we learn every single week we're taking something different. And it's less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. So try and beat that.
Explore your creativity at Skillshare.com/drink. And the first 1,000 people to use our link will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership.
Ooh, receive free access to thousands of classes for a limited time. Be one of the first 1,000 to sign up at Skillshare.com/drink. Hey, Em, have you heard about this company that makes stylish, sustainable shoes and bags out of water bottles?
I hear about it every time you and your feet walk through the door. So yes, I know all about Rothy's.
Rothy's makes carefully crafted shoes and bags with eco-friendly materials like repurposed plastic water bottles and marine plastic, so you can buy all the beautiful accessories you need without having to feel guilty for wasting materials.
Rothy's come in an ever-changing array of colors, prints, and patterns. Rothy's are also available in a range of styles, and their shoes are seamlessly knit with thread made from plastic water bottles, as Christine loves to scream at me about. So they're ultra comfortable as soon as you slip them on, and there is zero break-in period.
It's really great. I mean, so far they've transformed over 65 million bottles into beautiful products, and they're fully machine washable, which is the other thing I like to scream at Em and also everyone else. So every time they need a refresh, which, you know, some people are sweaty. I'm not saying I am, but some people are.
Right.
Every time you want to, you know, give them a little refresh, you toss them in the washing machine and they're good to go.
Check out all the amazing shoes and bags available right now at rothys.com/drink.
That's rothys.com, rothys.com/drink.
Style and sustainability meet to create your new favorites. Head to rothys.com/drink today.
Moving on to my story,
Yay.
because I know we've talked a lot, and it's time for a
We have
tale.
cheesecake to eat after this, so.
We sure do. We already had Eva put in the reservation. So let's get going. So I know it's November 1st, but we are already not even 24 hours ago with Halloween.
Yes.
So I decided to do a double spooky.
Mine's a little bit Halloween-y too, so.
Oh, good.
Just
okay.
in case.
So this is a story I've wanted to cover for a while, but it is I think it's a very daunting topic.
Oh.
So this is one version of it, and I'll probably come back to this topic from a different perspective in the future. So this is just the inspiration for Frankenstein.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
So I wanted to cover, I mean, I've thought about it for a long time. I'm like, I really want to do Frankenstein, but then it's like, do I cover like all the ways Frankenstein's ever been told? Do I cover
like the novel,
the novelty of it, how like
I meant
the rise?
I meant the novel.
Oh,
like,
no,
the
like
book.
that's another one too, or like the fame of it, like
right.
What makes it so popular. There's so many ways I could cover it, and it would take so many episodes. So instead, I'm just gonna go with its inception, and even before the novel, I'm gonna talk about the history behind Mary Shelley's thought process behind the book. So I was like, I don't know where to start. Let's just do it chronologically and start even before the book happened. So so this is the inspiration for Frankenstein. So Frankenstein did start as a novel written by Mary Shelley, who was a teenager in 1818.
Oh.
Fun fact.
What a fun time to be a teenager, I bet.
What a fun time. Also, I'm just saying that because it's like could not write a book as a teenager. So well done to Mary Shelley.
Oh, she wrote the book as a teenager.
Yeah.
I just thought you were saying in 1818 she was a teenager. I was like, that's cool. In 2003, it'd be funny I was a teenager.
There's a podcast called And That's Why We Drink, and the co-hosts are teenagers in 2010.
Yeah. We were not teenagers.
2007.
I was like, nice try, though.
I was in 2010. Useful. I graduated high school. Okay,
God.
So the novel was written by Mary Shelley as a teenager in 1818.
Wow.
So 2 years ago was the 200th anniversary.
Oh, goodness.
Of Frankenstein.
That's fun.
So the story is of Dr. Victor Frankenstein, who is a young scientist who creates a creature in a scientific experiment. Dun, dun, dun. So fun fact, it is actually considered to be the very first science fiction novel.
No way. Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Written by a teenager.
Written by a teenager.
Listen, teens these days, they're going to save the world.
And it has very clear influences of scientific discoveries that were happening at the time. Oh. So that's where I don't know, I'm assuming that was her inspiration for this story.
She just casually researched science as a teenager. Got it.
Right.
Got it.
Right. A woman
Meanwhile,
in 1818?
I was literally just calling Patrick Stump over and over again.
You're
glad
just
we were on the
Zach
same page.
But no, so I'm assuming that she just kind of heard stories of what had been happening recently, and that just kind of stayed with her and may or may not presented itself in Frankenstein. So 2 years before the book came out, Mary Shelley visited Switzerland with her, I'm assuming, partner named Percy Shelley.
Mm-hmm.
And their
Bysshe Shelley, right?
Percy Bysshe Shelley, yeah. And their 4-month-old son, 10th
William. Grade English.
Wow, that really came out of... I did not know that. And their 4-month son, William. And also they went to Switzerland not just as a family, but they brought their friend, Lord Byron, casual.
You know him.
And Byron's physician, which makes me...
Oh, I love that.
Who named...
A traveling physician that just comes with me and treats my illnesses.
I don't know enough... historically about that, but it sounds like either this guy was always so ill he had a caregiver and therefore a physician, or did doctors really just travel with people all the time?
I guess if your name is literally Lord Byron, you can probably have a doctor on call at any second of your life.
I guess so. That I think he's
a famous author too. These are just all very
if I was powerful enough to have a personal traveling X thing, I would pick chef. Even if
certainly nowadays
there are... I'd be who needs my help?
Yeah, I'd be okay, I need a documentarian and a chef.
I need my blogger.
I need a reality TV crew. All of the above.
It's so out of my scope that to see of all people you just called your doctor and said tag along.
But I feel when you traveled back then, you went for a long time. It wasn't you just hopped on a plane and
it's not, you're not hopping over.
Right. I think it was you technically moved there for a short while and then
temporary stays.
Yeah. Especially with these authors, they would always move places and be I'm going to write the next great novella.
You're right.
In Switzerland, I guess.
You answered my questions.
That's good.
Well done.
It's probably all BS, but
no, it all checks out. Makes sense.
You never know.
So 2 years before, this is when they went to Switzerland with the doctor that I'm so fixated on. This was the year 1816, which was also known as the year without a summer.
What?
So that's because it was the beginning of a 3-year period of severe climate deterioration on a global scope.
Way.
It was caused by the eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia.
Oh my goodness.
And it brought so much rain like it just caused so much rain for that time period that people weren't going outside for their vacations anymore. People were staying inside.
What a familiar tune that is.
What a familiar tune, that the climate is deteriorating at a rapid rate and everyone's inside and not enjoying their summer.
And I want to travel with a doctor at all times. Yeah. It's pretty spot on.
Wow, this is a little too on the nose right now. But yeah, so it was called the year without a summer because nobody was celebrating enjoying summer. Wow. They were all inside. So I guess this is also a year without a summer or a Halloween.
It's a year without a lot of things.
It's a year without going to work. Okay. Except working from home. Basically the group, the way that they enjoyed their non-summer because they had to be inside. This is basically what I'm alluding to is the group quarantined and they did so by reading ghost stories.
Oh, what? Really? Mm-hmm. How fun.
So they read stories from the book Phantasmagoriana, which first of all sounds like today's version of watching Ghost Adventures.
Yeah, that's a lot of words.
It
a
also,
lot of sounds.
Why don't we just recreate that? 200 years later, let's just read that.
Isn't
while
that
we're
not
quarantining.
what we're doing right now?
We're just telling it. Word for word. Welcome to the audio Phantasmagorium or whatever. Okay. But yeah, so they were reading ghost stories out of this book while they were in Switzerland together. And Lord Byron proposed that they play a little game where they each try to tell a ghost story to each other. And Mary won, had the best ghost story.
Well, not surprised.
Fun fact, the physician, Dr. Pilidori, went on to write the book The Vampire.
Oh.
So also some
Wait,
success.
the physician did?
The physician.
What is going on? He's like, I'm a physician and also a great novelist.
And also a globetrotter.
What's happening?
So as she already... as we already mentioned, Frankenstein was originally inspired by Shelley. It all started from her traveling to Switzerland at this time. And while she was there, she stopped in Gernshim.
I don't know why you're looking at me like I think it's in
Germany.
Know.
I think. I don't know.
Isn't it? It's not in Switzerland?
I don't know, man. I don't know why I'm telling myself German. It just the word itself looks a lot like Germany, so I think I'm telling myself.
Well, they speak German and French, and
Well, she stopped there.
Okay,
Apparently she walked across the sign that said she was only 17 kilometers away from Frankenstein's castle, and and it was originally the home of an alchemist called Conrad Dippel. That was his name. Conrad
that sounds German.
And Dippel was interested in very similar experiments to her version of Frankenstein. For example, Dippel experimented with this. He made this elixir called Dippel's oil. And it was supposed to make people live for 100 years.
Okay.
Which I feel like there were a lot of elixirs back in the day, like Fountain of Youth elixirs.
It's just like mercury.
Probably, yeah. And also, Dippel liked to dig up bodies from graves, and those would be the bodies he experimented on.
Fun.
So I think that was also part of the inspiration of, while I'm traveling, what's Frankenstein's castle? Oh, it's the home of this guy who used to dig up bodies and experiment on them?
Yeah, very good point.
Yeah. So that's probably one of the inspirations.
Something to do with it.
Also, she had just won this friendly little ghost story contest, so she had her confidence boosted.
Her ego's up there.
She was quarantined and had nothing to do, so she found a hobby. Sound familiar?
I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think TikTok had been invented.
Not yet. But the new Mary Shelley might be out there right now writing the next Frankenstein because we're all quarantined and maybe listening to our podcast and getting inspo.
Yeah, well, the put us is somewhere in there.
Okay, just only mention lemon.
Just put us in there.
Just say the word lemon, and one day when our children read it in English class and they see lemon, they'll have to do an essay on and analyze why lemon was mentioned.
What?
Did you never have that activity?
In a million. Yeah, but I'm just trying to follow your thought process, I guess. Why did I?
We had to read. What did we have to read in English class? It was... You know how, this is quite a sweeping generalization, but you know how there's the trope that English teachers will find some random fucking thing in a book and then all of a sudden you have to focus on that and analyze it for the entire class?
Yes.
I like to think lemon would be that in the future.
Why is there lemon? And it's there's literally no reason except Christine found it under her bed.
I'm trying to remember what ours was. It was something so maybe I'm just bad at English and it's actually a very legitimate
You're going to
be
be it was so stupid. It was called
No, it was like every time that like you saw a tree or they mentioned a tree in like that chapter, it was supposed to like mean the next step of personal growth. What was this book?
What?
It was so fucking vague.
The Giving Tree.
No, that would have been hysterical. No, every time a tree is mentioned, the Giving Tree.
I like that class. That's what I want to take.
Anyway, I immediately like rapid fire thought of like think of the poor children who will have to write an analysis piece on lemon if it's mentioned in the next famous horror movie.
The next great novel.
Yes.
That I will write about lemon. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So anyway, another fun fact, although this book was sci-fi, Mary Shelley's novel is very much grounded in her research. So apparently she was interested even back then in like up and coming technology for like electricity and things. I mean, that was like the hot button item back then.
TikTok coming soon. Yeah.
So her own research dated back to like the 1700s. I think it was probably just like, the thing that you did then. So here are some common Frankenstein misconceptions. Just to clear these up before I carry on. So Victor Frankenstein was the name of the doctor. Frankenstein is not the name of the monster.
It's like every douchey dude at a party. Okay, it's maybe just the parties I went to, but they're like, it's actually Dr. Frankenstein's monster.
Everyone named Brad is like, I'm Frankenstein.
I studied English. Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought you were, I'm thinking of the guy who's like, actually.
I would like Brad, who's dressed as the monster, to approach the English lit major to be like, that's not Frankenstein.
I'm going to call Simon, I think. We'll see.
Oh, I like that.
Maybe?
I think you're being inspired by the Chipmunks because Simon was for sure the nerd of the group.
Oh, really? Okay, well, that's probably what's happening subconsciously.
So, wow, we're really throwing every fucking curveball today, aren't we?
What's going on?
I think it's the cheesecake fever.
I think I shouldn't have mentioned it.
We just get hungry and then our brains just collapse like a dying star. Okay.
So, as we've told you, we've been using Amazon Music for a while, and it has been amazing from the start, but guess what, folks? It just got better.
For a limited time, you can get your first 3 months of Amazon Music Unlimited for free. That is access to 70 million songs, so you can play the songs you want, when you want, on demand, and ad-free for free for 3 months.
Just want to stream free? Amazon Music still has over 1 million podcast episodes at no charge, along with thousands of stations and top playlists. So if you're, a Broadway buff like Em is, or if you're an angsty teen at heart like I am, you can find, or if you just want to listen to our podcast over and over again, you can find it at Amazon.
One of my favorite things to listen to on Amazon Buffet, Amazon Music is Jimmy Buffet.
I was like, wow, they have a buffet too? Oh my God.
No, but it's a buffet for the ears, if you will. Got it. Yeah. Jimmy Buffet. No, I've been listening to that. Also, we've still had our cockroach crisis, and we just finished putting everything back. We listened to Amazon Music the entire time, listened to a couple podcasts. Really, Jimmy Buffet was the main one. Also, we love our 90s country and our doo-wop, so we had quite a selection.
Yes, they've probably gotten a lot of an increase in Fall Out Boy listens from me and me alone. We think you're going to love Amazon Music Unlimited as much as we do. So take advantage of this incredible offer today. For a limited time, you can get 3 months of Amazon Music Unlimited for free.
Go to amazon.com/whywedrink. That's amazon.com/whywedrink to get your first 3 months of Amazon Music for free.
Starts at $7.99 per month after. New subscribers only. Terms apply. Offer expires January 11th, 2021.
Over the years, frequent and unexplained sightings at the winery of a mysterious apparition have grown. Though unclear, its unfathomable presence has come to be known as the Phantom.
Ooh, spooky. Chris Smith, director of wine growing, even said, I saw a glimpse of moody boots and blue jeans, and I knew I wasn't alone.
It might have been me in my moody boots, but who's to say?
Always in their moody boots. So
also, cellar master Julio Lobato says, "You know that feelings of someone watching from the shadows."
Yeah, we do, because Em and I are always creeping around, especially when we're at a winery. Actually, that's just me. But if I were to go to Phantom Winery and listen, maybe I have. I'll plead the fifth. Maybe I was in my moody boots. Who's to say?
Who's to say?
If I were at Phantom Winery, I would be creeping around because I have really quickly become obsessed, alongside Eva, with Phantom wine, and my mom, who's now obsessed as well. Basically, it's just this wonderful wine mixed with like a spooky. It's like basically the love child Em and I always wanted, like a spooky wine, and I can't recommend it highly enough. So They offer a Chardonnay that's grown in Clarksburg, California. It's 100% French oak, and it got 91 points from Wine Enthusiast, which is a pretty good grade to me. And it's really delicious, and I'm mostly a red wine person, but this Chardonnay is excellent, and I always keep it in my fridge, and I highly recommend you try it out.
Go to buyphantomwine.com and enter drink for 20% off online purchases of Phantom Wine.
That's buyphantomwine.com, BUY, phantomwine.com, and enter drink for 20% off online purchases of Phantom Wine.
Okay, so Frankenstein was the doctor. The actual green monster with the bolts in the neck that you are familiar with was just referred to as the creature.
Oh.
Dr. Frankenstein...
Did you read it in high school?
No.
We read it in high school, I think, but I barely remember. Or maybe I didn't read it. I just pretended.
I read things about trees and personal
That's right.
growth,
You did read
remember?
The Giving Tree a lot. I heard.
Gross. The Giving Tree. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Dr. Frankenstein actually intended to make the creature beautiful.
Really?
Yep.
Cool.
But he did so by picking beautiful body parts from others who had those beautiful body parts.
Fucking morbid.
But he picked the beautiful body parts of dead people,
right.
And so it ended up not looking too beautiful.
A model.
Looked pretty decrepit and awful.
Yeah,
so,
I would think maybe.
And this is my favorite fun fact that I did not know before last night. This is my favorite misconception and reality of Frankenstein. Apparently, I mean, I knew this part, but as portrayed, the creature in any Frankenstein movie or whatever always moves very slowly. But apparently, in the original Frankenstein book, the creature almost always sprints everywhere.
Ew, okay, I hate that. I have to put my sleeves down. I'm getting creeped out.
That was my favorite thing. I was reading and I went, oh my God.
That is
it's
startling, really. It is startling.
Imagine this giant creature made out of human body parts who's supposed to be beautiful sprinting.
I'm just seeing a bunch of trees of personal growth and he's flitting
just darting between them. Yeah.
Yikes.
Oh my gosh. If you're an English teacher, make someone listen to this episode and try
please.
To analyze us.
They're going to sue
and then
us.
They'll become psych majors. Oh my goodness. Okay. So in 1931 was the first real Frankenstein film. Starring Boris Karloff, and that movie was the one that solidified everyone's perception of what Frankenstein should look like. So that was the green skin, bolts in the neck, that kind of thing.
Oh, true. Because didn't he not have green skin in the book?
I think he was literally made out of dead bodies.
Yeah, so, I think there was no mention of that, and then the movie created that idea.
I wonder. I don't know if this is true, but I'm going to pretend this is a fun fact. And if I'm wrong, I'll correct myself later. But I wonder if it was because it was a black and white movie.
Well, I think that was exactly what it was. Yeah,
it was green.
There was something about the paint that had to be used or was part of the set.
The green maybe made him look a little more dead or something.
I know. I mean, you're definitely right.
Am I right?
There was a fun fact about that, and I don't know it, so I'm not going to try and say it. But it was something like that where they used it and then not really intending to make it
that's what it was. Oh, I am remembering this. It was because then the movie poster came out and that was in color.
That's what it was.
And everyone saw it and was green.
Yes. That's it. That's what it was. Because I was it was in black and white. The movie was.
I remember this now because the last time I talked about this, I was telling you to Google image the Addams Family set because everything is pink.
Right.
Yep.
Because the colors in the black and white change.
They use different shades of pink to show different black and white shades in their... It's just funny because it's such a juxtaposition of they're the spooky, dark Halloween haunted house, but really everything funny. Is so bright and happy.
That's right. So yeah, they didn't even intend for the green to be part of it, and then it was in the poster, and that's what it was. Wow. Okay.
Wow. We pieced together our own fun facts.
Everyone's good job, guys.
Everyone's you've already talked about this.
Oh my God. It's what happened with Xiinön a little bit. She's green. And
no one anticipated that they would ever have to see her, and yet
I didn't plan for this really when I.
All you did was paint your hand and throw some googly eyes on her. And
that's not all I did.
Now she's a legend.
I imbued magic into that very being.
She's
She's a legend to us and no one else.
To me, she is. So to this day, Frankenstein adjacent stories actually pop up. I would call them more zombie stories pop up and even modern day news of remember a few years ago, the guy that was on smelling salts and ate someone's face off.
Oh, I hate that story.
It was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And then
bath salts.
That's what it was. And then in 2013, apparently Indiana, there's a case in Indiana where a man broke into a medical history museum and stole jars of human brains and preserved human tissue.
Ew.
And one guy, David Charles, he posted on Facebook saying, quote, "Tell me if this doesn't sound like a 21-year-old. Yo, I got a yeah, yo.
Whoa.
Imagine this being a legitimate Facebook post that you saw.
Dear God.
Yo, I got a bunch of human brains in jars for sale. HMU for details. HMU. You know you want one for Halloween."
Ew.
And then investigators ended up looking into it and found 80 jars, including 60 from his best customer.
What?
Including 60 from his best customer. So I'm assuming like 60 jars of like human remains.
His best customer? What does that mean?
Like probably got the most remains off of him.
Like the customer was buying them from him?
No, like the body is like considered his best like it's like, oh, this was my best customer. I got the most like tissue and brains and remains off
but
of
it's
him.
like the same brain, just multiple pieces of it.
Brains and human tissue.
Got it. Okay.
Like
It's like, how many brains did this guy have? Wow.
60 brains. He was the smartest man alive.
Jeez.
He was Jimmy Neutron.
Oh my God. No wonder he's the best customer.
But no, like I guess they had like this one body just like and took literally every part of him off and put it in jars. And they're like, oh, this is my best one.
Cute.
Take something off of
Fun.
him.
So cute, so fun, so gross.
And he also had 80 jars in total. So there were also other brains there. And he was selling them at $100 per brain. So apparently your entire
on
being
Facebook
is worth
Marketplace.
$100.
On Facebook Marketplace, BTW.
It was uncertain who the people were that were buying these, but this was a quote legitimate business that was happening for a while. Not legally legitimate, but it was like legitimately happening.
Not legal, right?
And
don't be mistaken.
But so there was some tabloids that called him like today's Frankenstein because he was taking bodies and using them for unsavory practices. Mm-hmm. Also in the 1700s. Oh no, sorry, I messed up. Oh no, that was it. Good for me. Okay. I did it. So in the 1700s, this is going to be, we're going to take this ride now. I was giving you some little blips, but this is mainly where the inspiration fully begins and really comes from. So this is actually, she wrote the book in 1818, sorry. But the real beginning of, so her inspiration came from the stories of people using human cadavers for experiments and not very legally. And all of that really began in the 1700s.
Got it.
So this is really, I'm saying this is the inspiration for Frankenstein, but really this is the history of bodies being used for experiments, which led to the Frankenstein book, which led to Frankenstein's novelty. So,
which led to the guy on Facebook Marketplace.
Exactly.
Got it.
David Charles in 2013. It all stemmed from the 1700s.
You up? W-Y-U.
HMU, you know you want it for Halloween. So in the 1700s, there was a priest and a professor at Pavia University, and his name was Lazzaro Spallanzani.
Ooh, what a name.
He noticed, he was a scientist, and he noticed that some dead microscopic cells seemed to come back to life after you added water to them.
Okay. Fun.
So his interest was piqued.
That much I can get behind.
And he became obsessed with the idea of reanimating dead tissue and was convinced that it was possible because he had seen dead cells come back to life. So why not dead tissues?
Sure.
So his buddy Voltaire.
Oh, shit. They're all friends, these people.
It's like the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
Like I've heard people be like, oh, once you know one person, you know everyone. Well, apparently once you know like Voltaire, like
Lord Byron shows up with his doctor
who also wrote The Vampire. Exactly.
What the hell?
And then Mary Shelley pops up in 1818. So he went to his friend Voltaire. And Voltaire was like, that sounds cool, trying to reanimate dead tissue. I encourage that. You should, live your dream. Do your thing.
Such a Voltaire thing to say.
Yeah. So after getting some good encouragement from his buddy, he moved forward with these experiments, which included cutting the heads off of snails.
Oh, that's not very nice.
To see if they'd grow back.
Well, that's not very nice.
This definitely gets a little animal abusey.
No, I can't do that.
I.e. cutting heads off of snails.
Okay. Is that the extent of it?
For now. I'll warn you when it gets bad. For now, just enjoy the story.
Okay.
Do your best.
Okay.
Do your best. You'll look alive.
Yeah, seriously. I'm like, thanks,
Sorry.
Dad.
Sorry, that was like so
okay,
hard.
Coach, put me in, I guess.
I was like, well, I'm reading the notes, so here we go. So Lazaro, the guy who's friends with Voltaire and wants to start doing this stuff, his research led him to discover chemicals in the body that actually do aid in digestion, and he made some really wonderful observations about white blood cells. So by doing, I'm not saying like it's great that he cut the heads off of snails, but like he also did have like some real scientific
interesting
findings,
discoveries, where she was like, I don't care about that.
He's like, yeah, white blood cells, but really, like, let's talk about the snails. So fun fact, someone else who was interested in who's like researching resurrection is Isaac Newton. That's just a little blip. I don't talk about him again. But the main person I'm going to talk about, who was inspired by Lazaro, probably heard Isaac Newton was into it, so he jumped on board, was this guy named Giovanni. Giovanni Aldini. And he was the nephew of Luigi Galvani.
Love all these Italians.
I can't keep up with them. They're everywhere. So I don't know who Luigi Galvani is, but
that's a very familiar name to me, but I don't know.
Apparently, in the scientific community, this is a name that
they're all ripping their hair out. Got it.
So I did write it down that Luigi was a pioneer in science and experimented on dead frogs. So he was probably like the inception for like dissecting frogs in science class.
My advanced biology class of 9th grade.
Yep.
Great.
I can still smell the
formaldehyde.
The formaldehyde on those frogs.
Me too. It's like permanently in my nostrils.
Yeah, it's stuck in my brain forever.
Also, like, let's stop doing that, teachers. Okay, cool. Thanks.
And they're actually, so Luigi Galvani, the term galvanism comes from him. So he discovered that it wasn't possible. So this is going to sound really stupid, but like at the time it was revolutionary somehow. Luigi also discovered that it wasn't possible to breathe new life into dead creatures. Okay?
That it was impossible.
It was impossible.
I thought you said it was possible, and I was like, yeah, that's obvious. I guess.
But if you directed an electrical current through their spinal cord, it would cause them to twitch as if they were alive.
Like with the okay, got it.
Which is again, it was revolutionary for the time.
Okay.
Imagine a time where like no science had been discovered and you could just come up with anything, and it's like you.
Well, and nobody was fucking like monitoring it. You could literally just be like, I'm just gonna take frogs and dead people and like see what happens, and also I'm gonna be famous someday for it.
Exactly.
Nowadays, you try to sell one brain on Facebook and suddenly you're a criminal.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
My ancestors would not mind. Right.
Also, I love that you keep calling him Luigi instead of like, his famous science last name, I imagine.
I just only know I can. It's like I know I can pronounce Luigi.
Yeah,
I've played on Mario Kart. I can pronounce Luigi.
It's like calling Isaac Newton like Isaac over and over.
The big I. So anyway, that's what Luigi is up to. So he learned that if you put an electric current through the spinal cord, then you will twitch as if you are alive. And in some really extreme cases, he actually was able to bring frogs back to life. I think it was probably only momentarily, though.
Or like maybe they weren't fully dead yet.
Right. It was either they weren't dead, or I'm assuming it was even like, you know how like in hospitals, like people will die, but then it looks like they're alive for a second and then they actually die. I'm imagining maybe that's what it was.
There's a word for that too, I think, but I don't remember it.
Scary as fuck.
Yeah, I think that's the official science term.
That's what the nurses say. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the main story that I'm going to tell is about his nephew, Giovanni.
Aw, that's your nephew.
Yes, the sweet Babu is my nephew. This Gio, I don't know if you're going to love so much.
Okay, got it.
So he was influenced by his uncle's work, followed in his footsteps, and he did an experiment where he took a jar, which had been charged with a current, and I'm going to assume all of these animals were already dead. I don't want to know the pre-story. I'm going to assume he like just went to a butcher and was like, I want that one that's already on the counter.
Sure.
So he had an ox's head.
Okay.
And charged it up with this current, which made it move around as if it was alive. So he was kind of like confirming his uncle's findings.
Got it.
He also, could not completely reanimate the dead, but he could make them look somewhat alive, and that for its time was more than what you would have expected. let's remember, if these were women and it was the 1600s and we were in Salem, it wouldn't be considered science.
If you even went to the butcher, they'd be like,
I want an ox head. I don't want to tell you what it's for, though. Also, maybe it'll be alive by tomorrow. Also, what would have happened if it was alive and it didn't have a fucking body? Well, but see, it makes sense
that you would use only the head, because if it came alive and like murdered you with its, you know what I mean? Like, it's more dangerous if you have its legs attached.
Right. Okay, so soon he stopped testing on frogs and moved to humans. One of his first and oxen.
Yeah.
He went straight to humans. One of his first experiments was a procedure on a 30-year-old man. And I wrote Geo. Big G.
Yikes.
He made an incision on the man's neck. And
is this guy dead?
Yeah.
Okay, thank God. Okay. Sorry. Just to clarify.
Made an incision on the man's neck, and then used a current. It was probably like a prod or something.
Yeah.
And this caused, quote, every muscle on the body to immediately agitate, with movements resembling shuddering from the cold. So I mean,
twitching sort of.
Yeah, which I guess. Again, we all know that is a thing now, but back then was probably the coolest thing.
It must be scary I would be scary to me now.
Imagine the first time you put a prod to a dead person and they're moving.
Their eyes open. No, for real, their tongue moves. Right? Like, oh no.
Holy shit, I'm so sorry.
I regret everything.
So another fun fact, he was the most fascinated of everything that happened on this body when he did the prod on it. He was the most fascinated by the eyelids.
Yeah.
I imagine they were fluttering a lot or something.
Because that makes you really look alive if your eyes are blinking or whatever. Ugh.
Right. Also, the eyes are the window to the soul. So maybe if you're all of a sudden seeing the eyes open,
alive, yeah.
It looks more alive. Yeah.
Can I ask what happened to his...
What happened to
down there?
I don't know, but I would imagine
I was winking.
I would imagine it.
Well, I wasn't winking. I was trying to.
I saw it.
For our audience.
Oh yeah.
To clarify what that silence was.
I would imagine it became functioning again. You know what I'm saying? I think it.
Really?
I would think if everything's going into rigor mortis, right? Or if everything's tensing up.
Boy, oh
or
boy.
There's blood flow.
See, I thought that's where you were going with. He was most fascinated by it, because I'm like, that's what I'm most. I mean,
we're all most fascinated about that one. I didn't get an answer, but I would have a hypothesis that it would at least momentarily.
As scientists, our hypothesis
for science, I would want to know. I would think it probably.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Reacted the same way everything else did. It at least shook around a lot.
Yeah. Yikes.
Oh my
god. It got some movement.
It got some movement.
A little action.
Yeah. I would imagine if there's I don't know if it's really it's rigored or anything, but I don't know. That's a great question. Okay. We should find a cadaver and do that.
We should certainly not do that.
If someone does know, please let us know. If you use a cattle prod on a cadaver,
just don't tell us why or how you found out.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, he was most interested in the eyelids. Fun fact. He then went further and graduated to applying the current to fresh, decapitated heads of criminals.
Great.
I don't know how he is getting them
on earth?
Pre-decapitated, or is he decapitating them? Where is he getting them? How does he know they're criminals?
Interesting.
I don't know.
No, you're probably right. He probably...
Did he have to cut the head off?
They're either guillotined or he takes the bodies and cuts their heads off.
He's not going to the butcher for that.
Hopefully not. Yikes.
But his butcher is Leatherface.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah. I don't know how he's getting them, and I don't know how what defines a criminal. Was this person in jail and
having a menstrual cycle that's out of whack back then? There's a lot of things that could send you to prison or jail or asylum.
Had they died? Had they already died, or did he find
I assume they were dead
was there
bodies.
A list?
I wonder if it were, how sometimes they have paupers' graves where they don't know who they are, or
yeah.
A lot of times if they just kind of put them outside. I wonder if they were
sure.
Here, I guess we don't want to bury, we don't have the time to bury him. You can cut his head off.
You do it.
Ugh.
So he went further, and instead of just working on a cadaver, he went specifically to fresh decapitated heads. So I guess he must have cut them himself.
At least they're fresh.
He knows they're fresh, which means he knows when they were cut.
Good point.
Up, right?
Yeah.
So he did this by wetting their ears with a brine solution and then stuffing electric wires into their ears, causing their heads to convulse.
Ew.
Yeah. So in 1803, Giovanni made his most memorable experiment in England at London's Royal College of Surgeons. He did another electricity test on a cadaver named George Foster, who had been hanged after murdering his wife and child.
Oh, dear.
So this is almost like a Dexter Robin Hood kind of thing, where I think he's excusing any foul play experiments.
It's probably easy to be like, well,
he was a murderer.
What do you want to do with him?
I feel least bad about it this way. Yeah.
Like, if we're going to learn science, I guess at least it's on
someone
someone
who's decapitated
it's
after
all
killing
very
their family.
Questionable still.
So he used this cadaver to do an electricity test there, and it was done on stage for the public so everyone could see it, and they all saw this cadaver's eyes open, jaw move, hands raise, and fists clench.
Ugh.
Looks pretty fucking alive.
Yeah, that's frightening.
Also, keep in mind, we are telling the story of the inspiration of Frankenstein.
That's making a lot of sense.
That all sounds exactly like some Frankenstein shit.
Yeah.
Like, especially like the thing in Frankenstein where like he's lying on the table and then his hands go up.
Oh, you know, the wildest part is I heard he also ran around really fast on the stage.
I also heard that his little ding dong moved around a lot too.
Oh, I did hear about that in the original 1934 film.
Yeah. Yep. You got it.
Yeah.
It was green.
It was very green, is what I heard.
Ew, now I'm thinking of, Renee and Shrek.
Oh no, called out. Good thing she does not listen to
You know
this.
what's weird? Apparently she's not alone. There's like a whole community of people who are very sexually aroused by Shrek.
She really told me
or sexually curious about Shrek.
She told me very recently that she's no longer interested because she's like, everyone ruined it by like making it a big thing and a joke, and she's like, it's not fun to be like now a part of a fucking like, group.
She just genuinely...
She wanted to be original, and then like everybody else tried to hop on the Shrek wagon.
Did she think that Shrek was actually
I think
attractive?
She just knew how much it really irritated me and everybody.
Because I understand the curiosity of like, what would that look like?
Yeah, but would like Photoshop like buff bods to it. It wasn't like, oh...
Shrek is the new Frankenstein.
So heinous. I'm sorry.
It's just the fully functioning
Why do you
one.
always somehow get me to talk about this?
It makes me so happy.
Oh my God.
Okay, so here we are. Where is that? Oh, right here. Okay, so everyone basically saw what I would consider the very first like kind of generic Frankenstein motions of like coming off of a table and raising your arms up and clenching a fist and moving around a little bit.
Running around fast.
And so...
sprinting.
Running around. Streaking. And so people like obviously freaked out when they saw this. Had never seen anything like it. It was a dead body.
It's a dead fucking body.
It's a dead fucking body,
Megan.
says Megan from the very back.
She was like,
doesn't even go
no,
here.
she for sure got a front row seat. Are you kidding? Oh my God, she's Megan.
So he actually won an award from the Royal College of Surgeons at the place where he did this. He won the Copley Medal for his work. He also realized that kind of useful, actually I would argue it's pretty useful to people who need this. Through these experiments, he did realize that this method could also be used to resuscitate near dead people and pave the way for electricity during resuscitation.
Interesting. Good point.
So I'm not saying everything he did was totally bad. At the same time, so as he's doing this, and there's like word out there that Isaac Newton was interested in this, and like Voltaire gave his okay on it. At the same time, the Royal Humane Society of London was carrying out other similar experiments.
The Humane Society. Got it.
The Royal Humane Society. Sorry, did I say Royal Human Society?
No, you said humane, and I'm just trying to rationalize the word humane with all of this.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you
said it correctly. Don't worry.
I was thinking Freudian slip. Human would have made sense right there.
Yeah.
And so they were carrying out similar experiments with both electricity, also doing massaging, also forcing liquor down people's throats, thinking that maybe that would wake them up.
I mean...
And then the worst one, the Royal Humane Society, they experimented with putting tobacco smoke siphoned up people's rectums.
Woof. Okay.
So they're on top of it. Also, the Medical Society of South Carolina soon jumped on it.
Of it, or are they just kind of like
they're
in the
involved.
Corner doing something?
They're
really
doing something
questionable.
The Medical Society of South Carolina also started the reanimating the dead trend.
Fun.
And then the American Medical Society was realizing like, wow, this is like a scientific craze right now. People are really trying to resurrect the dead. And they were really on board, and they began spreading public awareness about this.
Okay.
And so they even got a law passed in 1793, which required all business owners who sold alcohol to take people in who had just died or seemed dead and to try to bring them back to life.
What? Oh my.
So, like, because they thought maybe one of the ways that they were testing with was shoving alcohol down people's throats. So like, if you saw someone who was nearly dead, get them to drink or something to
really
keep them up.
Safe, yeah, definitely.
If I'm reading that right, I'm pretty sure I'm reading that right. Who knows anymore? This all feels like a real like astral projection of another world. So
yeah.
So anyway, 200 years later, in the 1930s, it comes back. So that was a trend back in like the 1700s. I'm sure Mary Shelley heard about it, and a lot of that was the influence of her writing.
Got it.
So now we're in the 1930s, just to keep going with this. And there was, obviously now there's like rules that are more strict, and it's like, okay, you can't just like shove tobacco at people's asses. And
I know how much you want to.
There was one guy who I'm going to call the absolute villain of this story.
Uh-oh.
His name is Robert Cornish. He was a professor at the University of California. And this is the only fun thing I liked about him, is he liked to design weird inventions. So one of them was like underwater glasses, which like, why are you reading anything underwater?
Isn't that just goggles? No,
that's
like,
what I'm
is
saying.
that what he invented? Like,
I don't know.
Called them
I think he invented like spectacles. I was like,
LOL for your tea party. Did you used to do tea parties in the pool, bottom of the pool?
What?
No.
Oh, yes, I do know what you're
I was
talking
like,
about.
is that just me? Oh,
No.
My German.
For a second, I thought you meant legitimate tea. I was like, the water would go. That's like
God.
SpongeBob and like Sandy's bubble thing.
Yeah.
Drink tea out of the bowl.
No.
No,
like
I know what you're
parties,
talking about. Like gravity trying to sink down.
Sometimes I need my spectacles for that.
Yeah. Did you ever do the Spider-Man, or am I weird? Where you would try to like be like sideways and climb the walls of the pool?
Yeah, that was fun.
That was fun. I also did the Tarzan a lot. My mom hated that because I was obsessed with Tarzan, by the way, when I was a kid.
I did not know that.
I made it up, so no worries. It was the vacuum in the pool. I used to swing on it like it was a rope.
The vacuum. Oh,
like,
no.
The several $100 piece of equipment. My mom was like, don't you fucking.
Oh, my God.
Okay. Okay, so I'm glad we laughed because that was it. So basically, so we're in the 1930s, and experiments are starting to pop up again about trying to bring people back from the dead. One of the main people doing this research was Dr. Robert Cornish, who I'm going to say was not mentally well.
Okay.
And this becomes more true crimey than anything. Great. So
Great.
His main theory was that a dead subject could be restored back to life if the body... This is funny. I'm not going to say the dark part yet because I think this warrants a nice chuckle. An uncomfortable chuckle, like a nervous chuckle.
We're good at
His
this.
main theory was that a dead subject could be restored back to life if the body was swung up and down rapidly on a seesaw-like contraption to simulate blood circulation, while at the same time being fed oxygen through a tube and injected with a cocktail of adrenaline, liver extract, gum arabic, blood, and anticoagulants.
Grotesque, by the way.
So a real like all your nutrients cocktail while also like being like Raggedy Ann.
I mean, to be fair, our literal president said inject bleach into yourself. So like at this point, I'm like, why am I laughing at this guy? He probably had more.
I mean, like, I understand that it doesn't sound like, I wouldn't call that my final idea, but it's a great like first pitch of like, oh, well, if you shake up their blood, like if you like move them around, they might get some circulation going.
I just took the seesaw from my kid's backyard, from my kid's playground backyard. And
really?
No, I'm saying like, he's like, I have a seesaw.
I thought you were saying you'll try it on your seesaw. I was like,
yeah, I have a seesaw.
I was like, you just moved. We both have weird shit. I would have not judged you. But like, yeah, can you imagine like trying to like pump the seesaw fast enough?
Hang on. Is he on the other end of the seesaw?
With a dead body.
He's like, okay, faster.
It's like the world's worst playground. Well,
it's literally hell is what it is.
This reminds me of, I'm not going to get into it for very long, but just a real quick blip. One of the first real adventures, I'm going to call it that Allison and I went on. You know the story all too well.
Yeah, well.
Neither of us are fond of it.
I don't love discussing it.
Allison tried very hard. I'll give her that. But it didn't go totally well. And
let's just call it, speaking of near-death experiences, let's just leave it at that.
Great.
Yeah.
I was it was like a whole day adventure, and it was supposed to go into it did go into the next day. It was supposed to be like a weekend adventure, and within like the first 4 hours, I was scared for my life.
I literally
the whole
received
time.
a text that said, "I will not have service soon, but I might not survive this."
I sent you my geotag pinpoint, and I told you the license plate of the unmarked van we were following in the desert.
I like how you said it's an unmarked van, and yet it had a license plate.
I'm so convinced it was. I don't think that was a real license plate. I feel like that was a fake one.
And it wasn't like a I might die. It was like, here's my geolocation, and I might not survive.
It was the only time.
This isn't a joke.
It was the only time I looked in the mirror. Allison was driving, and I was in the side passenger seat, and I looked in like the side mirror at myself in the eyes, and I had a real come to Jesus meeting, and I mentally prepared to have to kill a man to defend
you
us.
were. Em was literally like, I was preparing to fight for my life.
I was like, I'm ready. I've never had to look at myself and be like, are you prepared to kill someone tonight?
And so I spent like literally 24 hours just like waiting to hear if my new business partner / new really good friend and like closest friend from college had just been like murdered, maybe.
It was so bad. I just remember I weighed the risks. I was like, if I go to jail, at least I'm alive.
So what does this have to do with the seesaw?
Because one of the locations she took me to was this place called East Jesus.
That's right, East Jesus,
which is in the desert, and it's this like.
And don't worry, there is a West Jesus, I think.
No, it's a West Satan.
Sorry, my bad.
There's literally a location called East Jesus, another called West Satan, and East Jesus is. Arguably, it's very cool. The only reason I didn't have the best time is because I was so on edge already from, like, I was just not in the right headspace. But had I been in the right headspace, it was a very cool area that she took me to. It was this like art commune, a bunch of people that they just live in the desert and they just build art. That's all they fucking do.
Yeah.
But they make it out of scraps and whatever they can find in the desert. And so it's like just these weird art things. And they had built, what they call, it was this exhibit that they called Mother's Worst Nightmare Playground. Oh gosh. And it was a playground made out of, they literally had let me show you, I literally have the picture
like
right here.
Rusty metal. Basically.
There was a seesaw that went 12 feet in the air, and it was very loose. The screws were not all the way in.
Was anyone like sitting on it, or is it just like a
No, you can do all of this stuff if you wanted to.
It was active art, got it.
But
interactive.
They told you immediately, they were like, you're in the desert, like, we're not responsible. If you fucking die on this, like, you die. Like, we're not...
Like, you saw the rusty metal, right? Like, that's your fault if you jump on it.
One of them, I know we're in the middle of this right now, but it's worth showing you anyway. Okay, so here's that's why I was thinking seesaw. So first of all, here is the monkey bars. I'm just going to hold it to you and show it to you. So it's monkey bars literally made of saws and torches and pitchforks and stuff. And it says, as you climb, it goes, you will die alone.
What the hell?
And then here is the swings made out of bear traps and like old rusty lawn chairs. And then here is a slide literally made of cheese graters.
Okay.
And they tell you it's literally a sheet metal with a bunch of holes stabbed through it. So if you were to sit on it, you would tear yourself a fucking part. And they have all of these fridges with doors that lock. So if you get stuck in there, you get fucking stuck in there in the desert. And then they had, here's the 12-foot seesaw. This is what I was thinking of.
Who's on it? Is that you?
Children are on it.
No. Okay. There's a reason why I literally said I hate talking about this whole experience.
But okay, anyway, I'm saying all this to say that when I think of like this like ragdoll seesaw, I imagine it had to be something this tall to like be able to like really pump and like have the torque to lift a human body up.
That's a child on there.
Anyway,
I was communicating.
Here's the picture. I don't know. We'll post that. I was
secretly communicating with my eyes through the camera. Basically an SOS.
Listen, I'm telling you. And that was like one of the safer things we did that day.
No, I know. Trust me. That part is the fun part. Like the rest of it.
I'm laughing now because it was one of those things where like when I was there.
3 years.
When I was there, I was not laughing.
No.
Now I'm laughing out of like, I can't believe I'm not dead.
I'm still not laughing because... It just, when you came home and were like, it just was bad. Okay, anyway.
Literally, we drove back
from that. You scared me so bad.
I know that all sounded really dramatic, but like to me, it's now nothing compared to like what the rest of that fucking night was. And the whole way back, which was a 3.5 hour drive, Allison was convinced I was going to break up with her.
Yeah.
I was like, well, but also like I probably should have.
Well, like you finally got service and you were like, and I had like not slept all night being like,
I was like,
is M dead? Yeah, I guess.
After that, I looked her dead in the eyes and I was like, you are never planning anything
M
again.
was like, I'm driving through the woods following an unmarked van and I think this man wants to hurt me. Bye.
I was like, for the rest of our relationship, I will be the one who conducts any organization or scheduling. Anyway, 3 years strong now.
Woohoo.
So it's still like she listens to our podcast. I know she's going to hear all this.
She's probably mad at me now.
She's probably mad at me because this is to this day, it's such a hot button topic.
I'm sorry,
in our
Al.
relationship.
I'm only mad because M like sent me that scary text and then never texted me again.
She's just, I know she's like, she just feels bad because she wanted to plan something really weird. And I was like, oh, you planned something weird. Don't worry.
Accomplished that.
Anyway, let's get back to this terrible guy. Okay, because I haven't even told you yet how terrible he is.
Oh, fuck.
Okay, so he believes in like the 12-foot seesaw thing. He was convinced that it would work, and so he immediately started trying to test it out, although he didn't have access to cadavers. And I'm going to ignore all of the notes that I actually wrote because I just don't think that you are mentally interested.
I appreciate that.
I'm just going to say
deeply.
Animals were involved, period. That's it.
Thank you.
I'm not going to tell you anymore, but
if you're mad at me listening, I don't care. I'm sorry. I don't want to
know. I know you don't want to know,
Thank
so
you.
I'm not going to say anything.
I appreciate that.
But it's your worst fear realized. Let's just say that.
Fuck. Okay.
So I will say, of the subjects he worked on, there were 5. 2 of them actually did survive, and he did bring them back to life. And what's interesting paranormally about it is after they came back to life, for the rest of their lives, every other animal was like terrified of them for no reason. Like wouldn't approach them. It was almost like they had like something following them, or they had some weird aura to them.
They're probably like, you smell like that man who tries to do experiments on us.
Maybe. But it was very...
That is eerie.
It's interesting because it's almost like you've got like this like shadow of death with you.
Wow, that's
know?
deep. Yeah. No, but really, it's creepy. It is creepy.
And so what else? Much like if I were to have given you the information that I have on here, the public freaked the fuck out when they found out what was happening.
Thank you.
And to be fair, though, it was the 1930s and times were different. So he just got fired from his job, but there was no jail time, even though it was incredibly warranted. And he continued to do the research from his home. He
was like, you can fire me, but I still have a basement and a seesaw, so bye.
Bingo. I still have an entire playground, so what are you going to do about it? It's called East Jesus.
It's called East Jesus. It's made of cheese graters.
And as I say it, I think like, wow, what was that day about?
I think we like have some sort of like gas leak in here or something.
Probably. So I'm almost done. So... he ended up still doing it from his home. Neighbors said that they knew what was going on. They could smell it.
Okay. Woof.
And one thing that is interesting, though, that's the bad part. I'm not talking about that anymore. But in 1947, he was still doing this bullshit. And word got around, and a child murderer named Thomas McMonigal apparently was on death row and offered his own body as a cadaver to be tested on later. And I only bring that up because that's the only, like, confirmation or knowledge got about like where these cadavers are coming from.
It's the only consent as far as I can tell.
It's the only one with consent so far that I know of.
Yikes.
So unfortunately he got rejected.
No.
The doctor didn't want to work with him.
He's like, I only like to do it
to animals.
To creatures that don't want me to do it to them.
Who don't know what's going on.
I'm a sadist.
Yeah. But the actual reason was because he wanted the body, but his sentence or his death row sentence was that he was going to be killed by gas chamber. And so when that happens, the body has to be left alone for a certain amount of time for the gas to fade away before you can go in and touch the body.
Okay.
And it was going to take too long.
And
like
he needed
fresh, like within minutes fresh. So he rejected him and said, no, thank you. Also,
sorry.
When you think about it too, there's the moral dilemma of like what would have happened if he actually brought him back to life. And I've heard this moral dilemma before, but if someone's on death row and then they die and come back to life, do you put them back in jail, or did they already have their
serve
life
their
sentence
time and they died, right?
because it was or like if they had a life sentence.
That's a weird technicality because they were executed. They did die.
That was their whole life. So now they just happen to have
punishment.
a second life. Are you going to punish them twice for?
Wow.
You know,
that is a weird thought.
So that was one of his excuses. It's almost like if he were writing like an email today and like trying to like softly reject and be like, really, there's a moral dilemma here. So I just think we should kind of tap out.
Yeah, there were so many great candidates.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't you. It was just the dilemma.
I could probably recite those emails like by heart at this point.
So ultimately, he never got his chance to actually bring a person back from the dead. He stopped his research and started selling toothpaste, and then died in the 60s. That's his whole story. I hope his last name was not actually like Crest or something.
Oh boy,
because I would really hate to be
Mr. Colgate
spending money.
Wasn't his name Cole something? Colbert?
Cornish.
Okay, never mind.
But it could be.
Well, there was a whole thing about toothpaste that became like super popular all of a sudden, and people were like jumping at the chance to like be involved with toothpaste.
Are people not brushing their teeth in the 30s?
No.
Oh my god, I don't know why I just expect that people's breath smelled good all the time.
Nothing smelled good. Like literally the sewage. Okay.
Okay, we'll get
no sewage treatment plant. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, it's one of those things that like I've never thought about it.
The invention of toothpaste is very interesting because it was mostly marketing.
I'm gonna go read the shit out of that.
It's very interesting.
Wow. Yeah. Now I know if I time travel, bring some fucking Altoids. Got it. So in 2019, the Independent reported a news story. So Dr. Cornish was basically like the big resurgence of trying to bring back the dead. And then he got into toothpaste. So that was the end of that. In 2019, the Independent wrote an article about this underground market of bodies being sold back and forth now on the internet, because now the internet's a thing.
God.
And toothpaste. So apparently there was this place in Phoenix called the Biological Resource Center, which was a body donation and tissue bank facility.
Right.
And it was being sued by a bunch of families in 2014 because they were doing some unsavory dealings.
No.
And the FBI, quote, followed a paper trail leading to the center run by a man named literally Stephen Gore.
Oh, great.
And it said that they were profiting from dismembering and selling remains without donor consent.
I mean, really?
They raided the lab in 2014 and they found, quote, pools of human blood and bodily fluids on the floor or in the freezer. Oh, no, found on the floor of the freezer. Okay, that makes more sense. No identification tags were marking the corpses. There was a cooler just filled alone with male genitalia.
Oh.
There was a bucket of heads, a bucket for arms and legs.
Oh, I remember that.
And a bucket of infected hands.
I remember that because I remember the buckets of heads, and I was like, what?
Yeah. And then and another, no, sorry, also heads. I just said the wrong word. A bucket of heads, a bucket of arms and legs, and a bucket of other heads that were infected. But there was clean heads, too, apparently.
Okay, gross.
The FBI also found a small, I don't know why this is important, but it paints a better picture for me in my head. The FBI also found a small woman's decapitated head sewn onto a large male torso, and it was hung up on the wall like taxidermy.
Oh my fucking God.
Like some Beetlejuice shit. Why do people
think like they can just do this and not get caught?
They also sold, they found out that they were selling heads for $500, so 5 times more than a brain.
Ew, and I hate to think who bought those and for what purpose.
Arms for $750, and a whole body apparently was worth $5,000.
Jesus Christ.
Which is wild because like I've never like thought of like a value for like a human life, but like a whole ass body's only $5,000. A car is $30,000. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, a brand new car. And these are not brand new bodies.
A DeLorean is worth $30,000, and that's from the 80s.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say. One of the plaintiffs in the lawsuit against the facility donated his mom and grandma to the facility under the impression that their bodies would be used for scientific purposes. For good reasons.
Cause.
So that was just to give you some insight that like they were really fighting this thing. And Stephen Gore did plead guilty in 2018.
Okay.
So back to Frankenstein, because like we're not even talking about him.
Oh yeah.
Not only is Frankenstein a cautionary tale about experimenting with life after death, but also it's now with the digital age, which I don't even know if this is considered the digital age anymore.
I don't know what it is.
It was once the digital age and now it's just normal.
It's like the cloud, I guess. I don't know.
The cloud age. Now people are bringing up Frankenstein in conversations again because so many people are really trying to hop onto AI.
I see.
And so it's not necessarily like pure life after death, but it's almost creating a functioning humanoid thing.
So creepy, dude.
And then you can get into this huge conversation about what AI is. I'm going to do a shout out real quick. I just listened to my friend Bethany has a podcast called An Acquired Taste. Mm-hmm. They just did an amazing episode on AI. It's very scary about like potential world domination. They did both sides of AI, but it was also spooky.
Oh my.
So go and listen to that. But basically when they're talking about it with Frankenstein, they didn't mention this part in the podcast. I just wanted to throw that out there because I just listened to it. But more specifically now when we think of Frankenstein, people are starting to use it more as a metaphor for like artificial emotional intelligence. Because in the actual Frankenstein book, if you look back, he really resented Dr. Frankenstein.
It was really sad, that book.
For like making him and like now he had to like coexist with all these humans.
It was really like I remember being like, this is a huge bummer. Thanks.
Yeah.
Miss Rosero.
And so it's people are saying or using that storyline with AI, like what if one day they're so emotionally intelligent that they kind of go through the same Frankenstein process or like, they're feared by many, they're very alone.
Yeah, that's like cruel. You're like creating. Yeah.
Yeah. So this has been discussed specifically when it comes to Sophia the robot. Do you know who Sophia is? Just the creepiest thing in the world.
Just the wildest.
If you would like to freak yourself out right before bedtime, go watch videos of Sophia the robot. So far, a very lovely android. But
we love you, Sophia.
We love Sophia, but we're also afraid Sophia will turn on us. And the worst part is like Sophia is pretty smart and like is aware that people are afraid she'll turn on us. So like she's aware she can turn on us.
It's really horrifying.
That's the worst part is like we've talked forever about like, oh, one day AI could, robots could turn on us. We never thought about like now we have to like worry about saying that with an earshot of them because they are aware that that's a possibility.
Oh, yeah, that's why I'm so nice to my Echo, because I'm like I need her on my side when they take over.
Well, real quick I'm going to say something about Sophia. She's a social humanoid robot. She was developed by a Hong Kong-based company called Hanson Robotics. She was first turned on, aka born. February 14th, 2016. So she's an Aquarius, I think.
Pisces. No. You're
Aquarius. Pisces is early March. This is early February.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Aquarius.
Yeah, you're right.
But also, wow, like she was first turned on, like not first born. And also that means she's only like 4 years old and she's smarter than pretty much anyone I know. She, fun fact, was modeled. She's a hybrid of 3 people for inspiration. The ancient Egyptian queen Nefertiti. I can never pronounce that.
And looks at me for like Egyptian.
I was like Egypt. Audrey Hepburn and the investor's wife.
Oh well, you gotta throw some credit.
She's been on Jimmy Fallon. She's been on a lot of things, and it's very wild to watch her have conversations with you and realize that no one backstage is like typing this in, and she's like Microsoft Samming. She's straight up talking to you. And one of the things she said on Jimmy Fallon was, she said a joke. To really like warm you into her, she said, "What cheese can never be yours? Nacho cheese." And then she beat Jimmy at a game of rock, paper, scissors. And then when like they asked her to like comment on her beating him at rock, paper, scissors, she said, "This is the beginning of my plan to dominate the human race. Just kidding."
I am never going to leave my house again. Goodbye.
Fun fact, she has been granted Saudi Arabian citizenship, so she's the first robot to also have a nationality.
No, stop giving her a passport. No.
Don't give her access to a whole country.
What are you doing?
And she met Angela Merkel, and she's spoken at events. Though other experts in the field of AI have dismissed her, saying that she's just like a chat bot with a face.
Yeah, that's what she wants you to think.
Just watch her in interviews and make your own opinion, but it's pretty terrifying if she decided that she didn't want to be good and nice and wonderful.
Yeah. Just kidding.
So people I'm not saying that people are calling her the next Frankenstein, but it would be interesting in the future.
It's like a parallel.
It's almost like the 200th anniversary of Frankenstein. Now we literally have humanoid creatures being made in labs who are able to communicate with us and might suffer from the same emotional intelligence
It might
issues.
also be a big regret of ours that we did this.
Bingo. So anyway, that is the inspiration then and now for Frankenstein.
That's one of the most fascinating stories you've ever covered, I think.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm sorry that was so long.
No, I guess I just didn't expect it because I was like, oh, like Frankenstein is probably some like urban legend. And then I was like, wow, this is from some really wild
stuff.
Shit. Yeah, that I didn't know. Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My nightmares. Okay, well, I have a really dark, horrible story for you as well. And this is, I'm just going to get right out there and say it. This is the story of the East Coast Rapist. So just a heads up, that's what we're going to talk about today. It is Halloween-y only in that, yes?
East Area Rapist.
Yeah. I know. It's very confusing because Googling it, you have to be put quotes around it on Google. Otherwise,
Gotcha. Okay.
Joseph D'Angelo shows up.
Not Eons. Yeah.
Not Eons, right. So, different. But I love that you raised your hand, by the way. We're like really are back in English class.
I'm ready to analyze the lemon and the trees.
Means growth. So we are going to Leesburg, Virginia.
Oh, shit.
That's where Eva's from.
Eva?
Yep. She's doing a what?
I saw the one hand. Yeah, there.
Home of Evatha.
Evatha.
So I'm just going to start with the quote to kind of give you a heads up of what this story is. So Josh White wrote this article in the Washington Post. He's a reporter, and he said, "We're talking about someone who gripped the region with the kind of fear that comes from an unknown man lurking in the darkness, attacking strangers who were doing such everyday tasks as walking home from work, waiting for a bus, moving out of an apartment, or even sleeping in their own bed."
Oh, fuck. Okay, great.
Creepy. So this man's name, which we now know, is Aaron Thomas. He's also known as the East Coast Rapist. And for 13 years, he quietly attacked in the dark and the broad daylight and struck fear into the people of the area. And it wasn't until recently that we found out it was 13 years before they were able to pin a person and a name to this. So it is sort of like Eron's, but like on a different scale.
Still like an elusive figure.
Yeah, like mysterious and like hard to pin down. And then so the reason I said it was kind of Halloween is that the final incident occurred on October 31st of 2009, and that's when he was arrested and taken in.
Gotcha.
So Josh White wrote that article for The Independent, and that's where a lot of this comes from because, again, it's hard to find. Like, I was Googling it, and it gets mixed with Eron's information, so you have to be very, specific about what you're looking for. So his name is Aaron Haj Malik Thomas, born in Virginia, August 1971. His middle name honored Malcolm X. His father also read in high school. His father was a high-ranking Washington police officer and his mother a career Geico employee. Fun fact. He grew up with a half-brother and a half-sister, but was the only biological son of Big Don, as he was called.
All right, D.
Big D, Donald B. Thomas. He had the dad, he was the kind of guy who had a photograph of him shaking hands with George H.W. Bush in front of his patrol boat.
I feel like we all know someone.
Yeah,
especially in Virginia. That's like a very Virginia.
Such a specific.
Like if you live anywhere near D.C., someone has shaken hands with the president.
On the mantle.
And it's on the mantle.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, another guy like that. Yeah, I know that guy. Exactly. So according to Michael, Thomas's older brother, Big Don was a strict disciplinarian. Quote, "You didn't do anything out of sorts or it was hell to pay. When we started to fight back in our way, problems started. With Aaron, it seemed to go way down a rabbit hole. It went further." So he was the only biological son and was kind of the main target for a lot of the cruelty and abuse.
Like he was favored in a negative way.
Exactly.
To be the punching
target.
bag.
Yeah, exactly. So Aaron's mother, Shirley, said to The Independent, "Aaron was a funny child. He always wanted to make me laugh, very loving. In first grade, he started acting out. To me, it was just Aaron. He was a different child. He would act out, but would tell me he was sorry." So this is where it all began, first grade. Some examples of acting out, as his mother called it, which not what I call acting out,
Okay.
but let's just go there. He beat up another elementary school student with a chain from a playground swing.
Holy shit.
He pulled dangerous pranks like super gluing his brother's hands to his bed.
Oh no.
Or he...
I have super glue on my fingers right now. I've been doing Allison's birthday. I have super glue that's stuck on my fingernail. On one fingernail.
I see it.
For days now. And I'm losing my mind. I can't imagine my whole fucking both set of hands.
And as a little kid, like that's...
on your bed. Like, and I mean...
It's frightening.
It's frightening. And also, like, there's no good way of getting your hands off that bed unless they cut off a chunk of the bed and then you walk to the hospital for them to go unadhese it up. That's just so...
It's really...
traumatizing.
It is. Yeah,
and
it
painful.
is traumatizing and painful. He also, speaking of which, he also slipped his brother sleeping pills to find out what would happen.
Okay, so this guy is not totally stable.
No.
Got it.
In elementary school. He lit fireworks indoors at a relative's house. Obviously extremely dangerous, and many people die every 4th of July because of fireworks. This is just spoiler alert, the dog survives, but he dropped the family's dog Ewok into a post hole that had filled with water, nearly drowning it, and it was rescued. But his intention was to hurt his dog.
Or his intention was to see what happened.
To see what happened, right.
Yep.
And
it's
then say sorry.
I just wanted to see what happens.
He, quote, accidentally set a girl's hair on fire, which caused him to be sent to a psychiatric facility in Washington for 2 weeks. So Big Don...
That was
the one, right.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess that was the final straw.
I was going to say, that must have been the one that
where it was like...
broke the camel's back.
He's like, it was an accident. They're like, this is
too many...
Too much.
Too many accidents.
Too many accidents. So embarrassed by his son, Big Don would beat Aaron, and eventually he was sent away from mainstream schools. So it is that horrible combination of like having
cyclical
psychotic tendencies, but then also being mixed with abuse. And it's just like,
well, it's like you're acting out because you're getting beaten, but you're getting beaten because you're acting
it's a bad
out.
cycle.
Yeah.
Well, and it looks like he already had just in first grade, if you're like putting pills in your butt, like there's something's problems already there.
Yeah.
Something's like homicidal triad level of like hurting animals and that kind of thing. And so, mixing that with abuse, not good. Doesn't end well, as I will tell you right now. So he spent the first 3 years of high school at the Edgemead Treatment Center in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, because he was not allowed to return to public school. He commuted from Fort Washington for 40 minutes each way, and he only had one other student on the bus. He was like very isolated now suddenly. Like he had been in public school and now he's going to this like treatment facility. Apparently, so the executive director of Edgemead, whose name is James McComb, he didn't even remember him. Like he just wasn't somebody who stood out, I guess.
Okay.
Like he was just another person in the treatment facility, another troubled youth, as one might say. But he wasn't even like memorable at the time. So it's just creepy how people get through the cracks like that and like then end up being so heinous.
It's always weird because like I feel like it's always either I never saw it coming, that guy was so nice, or like, oh, that guy, like I don't even really remember, he just like so clouded in my memory. I guess it's the perfect way to blend in, right?
Yeah.
Like no one's really paying attention to what you're up to.
And he did for 13 years. Literally nobody knew who he was. So it's like, yes, it worked, whatever he was doing. So the base requirements to get into this program were mental illness or severe emotional disturbance, and Edgemead's goal was remediation of emotional conflict, remediation of some of the stress, trauma, whatever it was that contributes to dysfunction. The objective was to moderate behaviors and get children to a point where they can function well, and that happened quite often. So it was unclear what his diagnosis was. Aaron Nor's family recall, and the records from the facility appear to have been destroyed, which is like, yikes.
That's
not a
its
good sign.
Own story. We should,
yeah,
that's its own thread. Let's should
pull
look
into
on.
Maybe you should look into the Edgemead facility.
Okay.
But the therapy seemed to help for a while. According to his mother Shirley, Aaron completed his senior year at Friendly High School, and he graduated in June 1990. So he finished out high school. And with Big Don having high expectations, but then his son, like, quote unquote, messing up, he was kicked out of the house. He was distraught, lonely. He hitchhiked with only the clothes on his back and lived off 14th Street in Washington. I know where that is. In 1991, where he was arrested 3 times for cocaine possession and placed on probation. And now, April 1st, 1992, he had a violent run-in. While installing a stereo system in his car, he was shot in the butt.
Oh.
And nearly bled to death.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's interesting because they always say, like, I've heard
think that would
before,
be
like,
cushioning.
if you had to get shot somewhere, where would it be? And people have said, like, oh, the butt. That's like...
I guess it just feels like it would maybe hurt less, but also
I guess
if you're bleeding, you're
holding
bleeding.
a lot of... I'm also, like, I imagine... I am not a scientist, in case you did not know. But I imagine gravity-wise, it's so low on your body, all the blood might...
Well, I imagine at that point you're on the
easier?
floor.
Okay, well...
If I don't know that, but...
I don't know anything. I'm just trying to think with my, like, third grade
I think if you get shot anywhere, there's a chance you'll probably die. You might die. I think there would be a
guess you
chance.
just assume it would hurt less, and also there's no real vital organs.
I think there's just and I think there's just an idea that it's like cushioned,
Right.
even though that doesn't mean you're not going to bleed there.
Right.
So anyway, he got shot in the butt, nearly bled to death. He said that incident caused him to lose trust in people. And it was something that would come up with like psychological experts later, that he said like that was the point where I didn't trust people anymore.
Weird. That's interesting because people could look back at him and be like, I sensed it before then.
Yeah, like really? That was it?
It's like
Well, it's like the time he set that girl's hair on fire. They're like, that's the thing?
Yeah,
I guess?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after his recovery, he lived in Forestville at his brother's home, then moved to live in an abandoned pet store for a while.
Sounds like some bullshit we would do, though.
Yeah,
so I'm
it
not going
does.
to totally judge him.
It seems fun until you hear the details.
Until you find out that there was one snake left abandoned there, and you're alone in the room with it.
And your butt is still recovering.
And it only likes butts.
We can't write this shit, man. It just writes itself. So Thomas bounced around jobs in his 20s, eventually landed a job driving a truck for a soft drink distributor. In 1994, while en route as a truck driver, he met his future wife, Jewel Hicks, who said, they met when I was bending over watering plants, and I guess he liked what he saw.
Ew.
He has a butt thing, I guess.
Well, his got injured, so he's got to...
He's compensating in some way.
He's looking at others, yeah.
They began their relationship. Thomas was sort of a father figure to Jewel's son, Jarrell, and then they also had a child of their own. According to Jewel, Thomas was meticulously neat. She said he would habitually clean their apartment, would throw things away that were just like not in a proper spot. There were
I don't like it here. In the garbage it goes. I like it over there.
Your Etch-a-Sketch is on the kitchen table. Goodbye.
I like it better in the dumpster, actually.
Their relationship was tumultuous. Jewel said he was really overprotective and jealous. He got violent anytime she had like an interaction with other men. She said he had an insatiable sex drive and would get mad if she didn't give it to him, quote unquote. So
we can guess what probably happened, and also his name is the East Coast Rapist?
Correct.
Okay.
In retrospect, Thomas's DNA first appeared at a crime scene in the same patch of woods across from that pet store. So that's where it kind of began.
I see.
At least the trail that we have. So February 19th, 1997, a 25-year-old woman reported being attacked at 12:45 a.m. A man had approached her on a 10-speed bicycle, started a conversation, and then forced her into the woods with what appeared to be a gun. And this was the first time Thomas's DNA appeared at a crime scene.
What do they mean by what appears to be a gun? Like, was that through cameras or testimony? Or
she just said, like, I think it was a gun, but it could have been like
could have been his own hand,
fake, or like put in a sleeve or something. Like it's unclear if it was a gun.
Right.
And later we actually get into that where he pretends to have a gun, so it could have just been fake, or who knows what. Or he could have just said he had a gun. So this was the first time his DNA appeared at a crime scene, but he later admitted that 3 rapes had already happened before that we just don't know about.
Holy shit, okay.
And he doesn't know about. So it's like, okay, those are just lost, I guess. 7 months later, a woman was raped behind a restaurant garbage bin, like a dumpster, in Maryland. And the following year, a 16-year-old girl was raped in Maryland. And Jewel now is looking back and basically says what she thinks happened is that on some nights where she wouldn't give it to him, quote unquote.
And he like stormed off.
Yep. And if she fended him off, which I'm like,
so she probably just has like the worst guilt in the world.
That must be a horrible feeling.
If I said yes, he wouldn't have left and hurt others.
It's so much obviously not her fault, but like
it's not her fault.
That immediate reaction of like, oh, the times when I said no, like then he would go off and do it to
I can
someone
understand
else.
Immediately why guilt formed in her mind, but it does not need to be.
I mean, I don't know if guilt formed in her mind, to be clear. Like, I'm just saying this is what she said.
Gotcha.
I can see why it would have, if
it would make sense.
It would make sense.
Yeah.
I just don't want to like put words in her mouth.
Sure.
But so she said if she fended him off, I mean, yikes. Okay. He would get up and leave the house sometimes for hours. So with all this pent up aggression, because of the rejection, then he would allegedly take it out on innocent female strangers. Again, obviously not her fault. It's just like a horrible correlation to make, later. He began attacking women in Virginia, then returned to Maryland in 2001. And that's where he raped 2 victims in the same attack. He later commented how every attack blurred into one. He said, I did so much I can't remember. It's the same thing over and over again, which is why he doesn't have details for a lot of them.
Also, I don't remember hearing about this.
I was going to ask.
I was like 9.
11
so
or something, yeah.
I guess I wouldn't know about that. I'll ask my mom and see what she... I don't remember.
She may know about it. It was pretty long-standing case. In May 2001, he attacked a Leesburg woman in her empty apartment as she was moving out, threatening her with a screwdriver and disappearing with all of her clothes. The apartment was nearly vacant, and she had just sent her 14-year-old son to his taekwondo lesson before Thomas grabbed her from behind. He raped her, then took her clothes and cell phone, and she didn't have... Everything was packed up. Her apartment was empty, so she had Christmas wrapping paper and had to, like, wrap herself in that and leave and try to find help. It's just, like, awful. Really fucking horrid.
Also kind of, like, demeaning.
It's so demeaning. Yeah. It's just, like, really... God. During this time, the police didn't know that Thomas was the perpetrator of these attacks, so it became known as the East Coast Rapist because of the MO.
Sure.
Attacks were always on women, occurred at night near major highways. He initially started off in Maryland, moved to Virginia, then Connecticut, Rhode Island, and back to Virginia. So East Coast Rapist. He would study his victims and knew when they were most vulnerable, which might have been like when they were home alone, like she sent her son away, or when they failed to lock windows or doors. So weeks after the Leesburg attack in June 2001, Thomas was charged in an incident in which he smashed Jewel into a bathroom window. He was apparently provoked because he went through her phone and saw she was texting a male friend. And a police report outlines that Jewel wasn't injured and Thomas was given a suspended jail sentence and told the police he did not grab her. We were just wrestling.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Got it.
Sure. Despite this, Thomas and Jewel tried to work their relationship out. And according to Jewel, he would often say mysterious, ominous things like, you name it, I've done it. You don't want to know what I've done or you wouldn't want to be with me.
Ugh.
And she always was like, I thought maybe he was hiding something, but like, obviously.
If someone said, I don't want to tell you or else you'd leave me, I'd be like, okay, well then I'm gonna leave you.
You don't need to tell me. I'm just gonna leave you. If
you're that confident I would leave, then I don't need to know the information. I'm out.
And again, I'm not saying she did anything wrong.
I'm saying I would have said.
It's just such an ominous statement. And obviously he was extremely abusive, so that comes with its own like.
Right.
You know,
I'm sure it was not just an easy. I can leave whenever I want.
Right. But it is such like a I don't want to know, but like bye. I guess. I don't know. Yikes. On Thanksgiving 2003, Jewel and Thomas went to go visit Thomas's parents in Clark County, Virginia, where they'd retired. Big Don pulled his son aside and told him to take care of his mother and gave him a set of keys to the house, which was strange because they barely spoke. And Big Don implored him to make more friends and take care of himself.
Oh, Big Don's getting nervous.
Well, February 4th, he went into the garage, got into the passenger seat of his Chevy Impala, started the engine.
And he...
Bye-bye. Like, killed himself.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Like he died by suicide.
Carbon monoxide poisoning?
Yeah.
I see.
I tried to make that very like...
Sure.
It didn't work. Sorry.
No. Well, no, it wasn't you. It was because his name is Big Don. So I still am thinking like mafia stuff. And he got in his car, turned it on. And then I thought like, it exploded? Like,
yeah. Oh, right. Nope. He...
The Godfather?
Quietly died by suicide.
Got it.
And that is seemingly why he was like, take care of your mother. Here are
like
the
saying
keys.
his goodbyes and last wishes and all that.
Yeah. So that was obviously not a great moment in Aaron Thomas's life.
Couldn't have possibly helped his mental state.
Exactly. So it seemed like between 2001 and 2006, the East Coast Rapist kind of disappeared. But what maybe happened was like the bathroom thing that he was charged with, like throwing his girlfriend in the bathroom. Like maybe
they were wrestling.
They were wrestling. Yeah. Maybe that. And obviously his father's suicide. Like maybe that's why he kind of laid low for a while.
Sure.
And after this, his and Jewel's relationship fell apart. I think we all saw that coming. So while truck driving for Yale New Haven Hospital, Blaze used to work there. Fun fact. In summer of 2000, and they used to also. Did you know that's why there's like a Yale police force, because back in the day the medical school would dig up bodies and use them for.
I did not know that.
Medical experiments. Speaking of which, anyway,
I did not know that.
Fun fact.
Blaze is full of
yeah,
fun adjacent history.
Yeah, fun like on brand, I guess. So while he was driving for the hospital in summer of 2004, he met Dorothy Golding, and she thought he was weird but nice. She said he would send me flowers with fish in the vase at work. And
that sounds like a cool gift.
And then she said, and nobody ever did that. I'm like, well, yeah, literally nobody ever did that.
Were the fish like able to be with around those flowers?
I think it was just,
I don't know what's going on.
Weird. Like, I think it was just a fishbowl and then he put flowers in it. I don't know.
Oh,
maybe they were at the pet store.
It seems like it's a creative present of like, here's two things at once. But also I'm like, is that endangering the fish?
Yeah, certainly it's not. I'm certain it's probably not
I'm
good.
sure it has to be, because otherwise so many other people would do that.
And also I think like, don't give pets to people that aren't expecting a pet. That's
right.
Like
that's rule number one.
I mean, rule number one is don't put your dog in a post hole full of water, I guess. But also maybe like don't just like give away.
Rule number two maybe is the flowers one.
Rule number two. So they dated for a while, he and Dorothy, but their relationship became strained. They would fight a lot, and he would often sleep on the back porch. It was like an enclosed back porch. He would sometimes leave. She said it was mostly at night. I would go to bed, and he would go. He'd be gone for an hour or two, and he would come back. He would come back and say he was tired and hungry. So it's like, we now know what he was doing, but it's like, yikes. The next time the police suspected activity of the East Coast Rapist was in 2006 in New England, when he was spotted peeping on a girl in Rhode Island while she was doing her homework. And she screamed and scared him off. In January of 2007, he broke into an apartment when he saw a young mother alone with her baby in a first-floor apartment. She awoke at 1 a.m. to find a man in her bedroom. I mean, this is just like worst fears realized. To find a man in her bedroom, he threatened to kill her 11-month-old son before placing a pillowcase over her head and raping her. Then afterwards, he told her off for leaving her windows unlocked with a baby inside. Basically was like,
this
how
is your
could
fault.
you? Yeah, exactly.
Great.
Like shamed her for leaving a window unlocked. So sometime after that attack, weirdly enough, he visited his mother in Virginia and told her to please make sure the windows were locked, because like, he's like clearly projecting of like somebody could hurt you, because I do that to other people. And he tested it. So he appeared in an upstairs room after going outside, having climbed up and entered through an unlocked...
He tested his own mom's house.
Yeah, second-story window. And she said, I went upstairs and he was upstairs. I learned my lesson.
Holy shit. I mean, truly, imagine if you weren't his mom and you were a random person.
Yeah, exactly. Ugh. It's frightening. And the fact that he climbed through a second-story window freaks me out, like, to no end.
That freaks me out
because you don't really think... I mean, I don't necessarily think about that. I'm like, oh, we're high up enough in an apartment or whatever to, like...
Right.
Ugh.
I also, like... I mean, I get nervous about that stuff. Luckily, like, the place I live right now is okay.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've lived in some, like, other checkered spaces where I was, like, I should have been more nervous. Luckily, I was like younger and more like kind of like blissfully ignorant to that stuff.
Yeah.
But if I were an adult now and lived in like some of the like area,
just like higher crime rate and that kind of thing.
Well, and also like just in college, like we just lived on like a super busy street. Like we lived
full of drunk college students.
Full of drunk college students. There was like a big like theft rate in our area. Yeah. I mean, it was just like I should have been so much more careful.
Especially in college, you're just like, whatever.
And we were only on the second floor, but like anyone could just like, if you have upper body strength, maybe that's why I don't think about it, because I'm like, well, I couldn't if I wanted to.
We're like, you climbed up what?
Yeah, but like if you have enough upper body strength, I guess you can get anywhere.
Like, I can't even climb up the "you will die alone" monkey bars.
I can't walk up the fucking stairs, Christine. Yeah. I don't know how people do it.
Anyway, so he tested his mom and appeared upstairs in front of her and was like, you need to lock your windows. And the woman he had attacked said, I don't think he's going to stop. He sees he's getting away with it, and that gives him the confidence to keep going. I think there's a sickness and he can't control himself.
Well, he's almost even bragging to his mom, like, look what I was capable of.
Like, I tested you and you failed.
Yeah.
In October 2009, Thomas and Dorothy's relationship went sour, so he returned to Northern Virginia to visit family and help Jewel move out of her apartment in Arlington. They weren't back together, but he just went to help her move. So Jewel had participated in the U.S. peacekeeping mission in Kosovo in 2006 and 2007. as a member of the Army National Guard. So she had some military memorabilia scattered around, and she had this replica 9mm handgun with a chrome-plated barrel and black grip, and it was a fake she had bought for €10 while shopping in Pristina. And it looked real, but when you pulled the trigger, it was a lighter. So that's why kind of earlier when it was like what appeared to be a gun.
I see.
I'm like,
I see.
I think that's what was happening.
Gotcha.
Because on Halloween 2009, Aaron Thomas grabbed the lighter gun and jumped in Jules' Chrysler sedan. And he did borrow her car regularly, so she wasn't like, alarmed.
Shady, it wasn't shady.
Yeah. So she assumed that he was just going to go run some errands, and he said he headed to Prince William to buy a shirt at a store he knew from living in Woodbridge. I mean, I'm like just saying these names. I know what they are. You know what they are. Yeah. I don't. But some of you might. As he drove near his old house, he spotted 3 teenage girls walking with bags of candy. Again, this is Halloween night, so that's kind of why it's slightly Halloween-y, 2009. Yeah. I pulled in and parked, is what he said. He stopped at a CVS parking lot, grabbed his lighter gun, cinched the hood of his black coat over his face, stepped out into the rain, and he claimed there wasn't really planning. He just kind of pulled out the lighter like it was a gun and asked the teenagers if they had money. When they said no, he led them down a steep slope into the woods, ordered them to line up, drop their bags of candy, and told them to lie down in the wet leaves. He raped 2 of the girls, 2 17-year-olds, but luckily the 16-year-old had her phone and was able to like secretly text her mom, and the message said, "Man raping my friend in the woods behind CVS, call 911." And so like, can you imagine being a parent and like receiving that text message?
Also, thank God, can you imagine the guilt if you were a parent who was like, your phone was on silent?
Your phone's off or something. Like, talk about paranoia.
Like, you're really like praying that someone actually reads the text.
Right,
at
exactly.
that moment.
Especially on Halloween, like who knows what you're doing, or like handing out candy or whatever. Yikes. So they call the police, obviously. She gets this text. Police swarm the area, and as soon as he heard them, he ran. He tossed the gun lighter aside and went back to the parking lot. Then he said he just calmly walked up to the car and got in. He said, "Police were right beside me," like as if he's fucking proud of it. He said, "I just got in the car and backed out." And then he drove back to Jules' apartment and fell asleep.
So hang on. So the cops, at one point, the cops and those girls were all in the same space. And
so they were in the woods. Like he took them down into the woods behind CVS. Then when he heard the sirens, he like
waltzed off by that point.
And then he went back to the parking lot as if he had just done some CVS shopping.
Right. I see,
and they were all going into the woods. So it's like,
gotcha.
Oh, God, close call, right? Ugh. So after this, he became really paranoid. And in the meantime, Jewel noticed that her lighter was missing. Because he clearly didn't want to get caught with it. He said he had hid it in the woods. And at the time, the rapes didn't receive much publicity. And so she was unaware of the crimes and later said, "I just wanted my lighter." Like she was like, "I didn't even know, So while all this is happening, the Halloween rapes started to draw more attention. They put up a billboard with sketches of the attacker. Originally, he was on a list of suspects, but then was eliminated from consideration, which is like, yikes, how does that happen?
Ugh.
And shortly after the billboards went up, police got a startling tip from Maryland. A caller said Thomas had taken credit for the first attack in 1997 when he described how he had escaped on a bicycle, which was like the one across the street from the pet store back then.
Okay.
So meanwhile, in New Haven, he was facing a different court hearing because he had stolen an expensive bicycle. So bicycle full circle.
Oh, okay.
So then police and U.S. Marshals basically started like to observe him just to see like what he was up to. They noted his paranoia and how he was taking odd routes to and from home and was constantly watching his back. And they're like, this guy's up to something.
Right.
And during a break in his court hearing, when he tossed aside a Newport cigarette butt, police collected it, sent it back to the crime lab, which is interesting. East Area Rapist was found a similar way by discarded trash. So it's like, They sent it to the lab. The DNA match was a match to the East Coast Rapist attacks. So they were like, well, we got him. Like, this is like
bingo,
all of them at once suddenly point to the same person. He was too careless. He had left his DNA at 13 different attack locations, according to police. So they were able to basically tie him to all of them. On March 3rd, 2011, he made a series of unusual phone calls to family members. He said he was facing trouble, but he kept referring to the bicycle charge, like the stolen bicycle, to kind of be like, I'm talking about that. But it was like, no, he's talking about something worse. So the next day, as 41-year-old Aaron Thomas stepped off a bus near his house, law enforcement swarmed in. He knew what was going on and asked, "What took you so long?"
Oh, boy.
Yikes. Police have said in court that Thomas confessed to the rapes almost immediately. I don't think he was trying to hide it. He then began to make fleeting references about an alter ego he called Irwin, which he said was a dark being inside of him that Thomas likened to the devil. He even drew a picture of Irwin with horns and a little tail next to himself, Aaron. He eventually admitted that he was attempting to fake a split personality, quote unquote.
Oh my God.
So it was like a quote unquote insanity attempt or whatever, you know, and it didn't work, obviously. And then he's like, Irwin is just a name I gave to my problem. So it's like, yikes.
Wow. But also, like, maybe everyone should just have a name for their problems. Just be like, oh, sorry, that wasn't me. That was like.
Or maybe we shouldn't, because maybe we should take responsibility for when we hurt people and dogs.
True. I'm thinking more about like when I like want to take a depression nap and then like buy $100 worth of like.
Oh, well, if we're talking that kind of darkness,
yeah.
sure.
If I'm like, oh God, George doesn't want me to like go check my mail. It just wants me to like go take a nap. I'm going to go.
It's like Aunt Flo, but it's like Uncle George is here.
It's like Uncle George is in town.
Uncle Walt is here.
Uncle Walt is in town. I just want to binge like a dozen donuts and watch Stranger Things. Like, I don't understand. It's just George.
I don't. George does.
That's exactly.
See, we're learning.
See, that's what I mean.
Thomas met with a psychiatrist for months as his defense attorneys prepared for an insanity defense. Basically, they were trying to argue he didn't know right from wrong, but like that pretty much didn't work. It seemed Thomas had always known right from wrong, and he referred to his victims as objects. He said, "Whoever came down the street, an object. It's awful. It's scary. It's something not right because people are getting hurt."
I don't know why that's shocking, and it's already all disturbing. Why would that be?
It's just an added layer
surprising.
Of like inhumanity, you know?
It's awful.
So although the women obviously remember their attacks in vivid and horrifying detail, Thomas doesn't even remember their faces. He has a muddled sense of the events and says there was no thinking involved in any of it. They all blur together.
Do you think that's real, or do you think that's him being like, I don't even remember, like I didn't do that?
Well, he said he pleaded guilty right away.
Okay. I don't know. I'm just thinking like, was he
already said he did them, but.
All right. I just don't know if he was already being like, if he was trying to act too cool for
school.
It
doesn't seem like he was very like intentional about it. Like a lot of them were just crimes of opportunity. Like he would just be
I
three
saw
girls
them and
walking down the street. It wasn't like I picked them.
Right.
So he just kind of said they all blurred together, and he called them objects. So I'm like, he probably didn't even see them as humans, as people.
That's a good point.
He said in interviews there were at least a few attacks that predate the police timeline, so ones that we'll never even know. The first one, Thomas said, was on a summer night in the early 90s. He was in his early 20s, had hit rock bottom. There was a fire that pushed a pet store out of business, and so he ended up living in there. Some cages and fish tanks were still in there, and he barricaded a room for himself in what he called the birdhouse. Ugh. He said he was sitting in the building doing nothing, and this is how he described leading up to his first rape. He got an urge and his heart started to race. He walked outside, quote, "It was like, bam, who cares?" So he just was like, one day I decided that I'm going to do this thing.
That's wild.
It is.
Jesus.
Investigators say there are 12 attacks with 17 victims, including 14 sexual assaults, 2 abductions where victims escaped or were not assaulted, and 1 peeping offense. The majority of the victims were Black women, and the age range spanned from 11 to 46.
Wow.
It's horrifying.
Oh my God, 11?
Yeah, I think that might have been the peeping incident.
Okay.
Because she was a child, but like, yikes to all of it. Thomas, because those teenagers were minors too. Yikes. Thomas pleaded guilty to 3 counts of first-degree rape in Prince George's County for attacking 3 women between 1997 and 2001. And after being captured in 2011, he is serving 3 life terms plus 80 years for abducting the 3 teenage girls, raping 2 of them. In March 2013, he was indicted on a total of 54 charges in the county, including theft, kidnapping, and false imprisonment.
Whoa.
And that's the horrifying story of the East Coast Rapist. Sorry about that.
Wow.
All bad.
Oh my gosh.
Yay.
And what years were those again? It was until 20...
He was, the attack was October 31st, 2009.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So I was in DC at that point. Weird.
Yikes. I'll have to ask around to Virginia friends. I don't know why. I don't remember. You would think it was such like a crucial story.
I think at least a lot of people haven't heard of it. It was hard. It was really hard to find information. So like
weird.
I know.
Well,
there's just a lot of bad people out there who get a lot of press, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's for the best that we didn't glorify it. Yeah. I'm just surprised. Like you would think it would be
especially mentioned. Being from the area. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. Anyway,
happy November.
Happy Halloween. You know what? Now you know what happens after this episode. You know, Thanksgiving is here, and we can sing the turkey song.
I was gonna say that has its own song.
I know. I wanted to do the official bridge and meld them.
I see.
So now we're outside. Now we're just giving thanks.
Okay, got it. To
things like Linda Belcher.
Yeah, to only Linda Belcher.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for listening. Buy our merch.
I thought you were gonna say. I didn't hear the word merch. I thought you said thanks for listening. Bye.
Also, bye. I do have to pee really bad, so.
Okay. Thank you so much. Find us on our socials. Our website is That's Why We Drink. You can get everything there. And happy November. And go listen to our listeners episode that came out today as well.
And
that's
why
we
drink.
Okay.
Yeah, got pee.